City of Boston Zoning Board of Appeal hearing for April 30th, 2024 is now in session. This hearing is being conducted in accordance with the applicable provisions of the open meeting law, including the updated provisions enacted by the legislature last year. The new law allows the board to continue its practice of holding virtual hearings until March 2025. This hearing of the board
Recording in progress.
Held remotely via the Zoom webinar event platform. This hearing is also being live streamed. In order to ensure this hearing of the board is open to the public, members of the public may access this hearing through telephone
Recording
and video.
in progress.
Through a telephone and video conferencing. The information for connecting to this hearing is listed on today's hearing agenda, which is posted on the public notices page of the city's website, boston.gov. Members of the public will enter the virtual hearing as attendees, which means you will not see yourself on the screen and you will be muted throughout unless administratively unmuted when asked to comment. Board members, applicants, and their attorneys or representatives will participate in the hearing as panelists, and they will appear alongside the presentation materials when speaking. Panelists are strongly encouraged to keep video on while presenting to the board. As with our in-person meetings, comments and support will be followed by comments in opposition. The order of comments is as follows: elected officials, representatives of elected officials, and members of the public. The chair may limit the number of people called upon to offer comment and the time for commenting as time constraints require. For that reason, the board prefers to hear from members of the public who are most impacted by a project, that is, those individuals who live closest to the project. If you wish to comment on an appeal, please click the raise hand button along the bottom of your screen in the Zoom webinar platform. Click it again and your hand should go down. When the host sees your hand, you will receive a request to unmute yourself. Select yes and you should be able to talk. If you are connected to the hearing by telephone, please press *9 to raise and lower your hand. You must press *6 to unmute yourself after you receive the request from the host. Those called upon to comment will be asked to state their name and address first and then provide their comment. In the interest of time and to ensure that you have enough time to do so, please raise your hand as soon as Mr. Stembridge reads the address into the record. Do not raise your hand before the relevant address is called, or the meeting host will not know to call on you at the appropriate time. Okay, Mr. Stembridge.
Good morning, Madam Chair, present.
Good morning. Mr. Valencia.
Good morning, Madam Chair, present.
Good morning. Ms. Betabraza.
Good morning, Madam Chair, present.
Good morning. Mr. Collins.
Good morning, Madam Chair, present.
Good morning. Ms. Mukahal. Go ahead. Okay, Ms. Panado.
Good morning, Madam Chair, present.
Is Ms. Mukahal on today? Jessica or someone else? Okay, well,
Can you raise your hand if you're on it? I don't see it.
all right, I don't
You
know.
will reach out, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we will proceed with a 6-member board, starting with the extensions.
And with that, we'll go to the extension scheduled for 9:30. I'll read all of them into the record. Excuse me, folks. I'll read them all together into the record, one after another, and then I'll turn it back to Madam Chair if there are any questions from the board members. First, we have, thank you, welcome. We begin with case BOA 1310507 with the address of 29 Hamilton Street. Next, we have case BOA 1224197 with the address of 73 Stanwood Street. Next, we have case BOA 1291093 with the address of 41 Williams Avenue. Then we have case BOA 868870 with the address, we have two companion cases. Again, case BOA 868870 with the address of 810 Canterbury Street. Along with that, we have case BOA 868875 with the address of 812 Canterbury Street. Then we have case BOA 1096128. The address is 10 Rockland Street. Next, we have case BOA 1019220 with the address of 645 River Street. Next, we have case BOA 932844 with the address of 192 Gladstone Street. Then we have case BOA 1016543 with the address of 70 Utah Street. Next, we have case BOA 773858 with the address of 6 Evelyn Street. And finally, for the extension, we have case BOA 1018350 with the address of 38 to 40 Sprague Street. That's what we have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If there are no questions, can I suggest a single motion to grant the extensions as requested?
Madam Chair, I'll make a single motion to grant the extensions as requested.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Valencia? Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Benabraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Is Ms. Mukahal with us? Okay, Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Next, we'll move on to the recommendation scheduled for 9:30 from the recent subcommittee. I'll read through all of the cases, what the decision was, and then we'll vote, and I'll turn it back to Madam Chair. We begin with case BOA 1566165 with the address of 16 Cook Street, which was approved with a proviso of eliminating the overhang on the deck that is being requested. Then we have case BOA 1542426 with the address of 82 Washington Street. That was approved with a proviso of approval by Parks, or review by Parks and Recreation. Next, we have case BOA 1452448 with the address of 332 to 340 Summer Street. That was approved with proviso of screening and buffering and with BPDA design review. Next, we have case BOA 1554386 with the address of 515 East 1st Street. That was approved. Then we have case BOA 1568248 with the address of 36 to 42 West Broadway. That was approved. Then we have case BOA 1573788 with the address of 417 to 423 C West Broadway. That was also approved. Next, we have case BOA 1573885 with the address of 18 Pond Circle. That was approved. Then we have case BOA 1518380 with the address of 104 Child Street. This case was deferred until May 16th. Next, we have case BOA 1521624 with the address of 379 to 381 Bluegill Avenue. This was approved. Next, we have case BOA 155-4816 with the address of 4 to 10 Minot Street. The case was approved. Next, we have case BOA 157-5041 with the address of 46 Chickatawpa Street, which was approved. Then we have case BOA 152-9077 with the address of 162 to 164 Fairmont Street, which was approved. Then we have two companion cases, case BOA 156-6270 with the address of 14 Whitfield Street. Along with that, we have case BOA 156-4951. Both were approved. Next, we have case BOA 156-4366 with the address of 32 Laurie Avenue, which was approved. Finally, we have case BOA 156-3736 with the address of 210 North Harvard Street, which was approved. Madam Chair, that is what we have from the subcommittee recommendations.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve all the recommendations from the subcommittee.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Have we been joined by Ms. McCall? Okay, hearing none. The chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
That, then we shall move on to the hearing scheduled for 9:30. To begin with, we have two companion cases. The first being case BOA 153-8686 with the address of 86 Astoria Street. Along with that, we have case BOA 153-8740 with the address also of 86 Astoria Street. If the applicant and or their representatives present, would they please explain to the board?
Yes, my name is Hezekiah Pratt. I am the architect for the project and representing the owner, Natalie Francis. First of all, she bought this property in 2018. And at the time she bought it, there were existing conditions that were there that directly relates to the violations and while we're here. First of all, the basement was occupied. That was an existing unit, a 2-bedroom unit. Secondly, the other item that was existing was the rear porch was enclosed when she purchased it. So basically everything was existing. However, it was not code compliant. So we had to cite it as a violation, and that's why we are here today. Now, we plan on making improvements that will satisfy, hopefully, the zoning board. First of all, we are installing code-compliant exit windows at both bedrooms. We plan on enlarging the entryway that exit onto the driveway. Secondly, we plan, and most importantly, we're going to install a sprinkler system. One of the violations relates to exitway access, which I think we have. There's a driveway that you can access out the unit into the street. The smallest dimension of that driveway is 15.9, and the widest dimension of that driveway is 18 feet. So the idea to incorporate changes that we think will improve the existing condition of the the basement unit, and provide adequate and safe egress for that basement unit.
Great, thank you. Are there questions from the board?
I do have a question regarding who's is an existing occupancy in regards to the basement? Is it being rented out, or is it within the family, an extended family member that lives there?
I don't know. It's being rented. The basement is being rented, as is the first floor as well. It's important that it is rented because the owner needs those rents to satisfy her mortgage.
Yeah. So, I don't see any kind of issue with having a habitable kind of basement. I do see some concerns regarding requesting a relief for building code violation, because I think that they can be remedied, and it might just be that there has to be a sacrifice with the amount of bedrooms in the basement. But I do think that since you are creating improvements, that you should be able to do it without any kind of building code violations.
Right.
So that's my comment to like my peers and everyone. Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Good morning, Chair, Madam. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
How you doing? How you guys doing? Eric James, Mayor's Office of the Neighborhood Services. So for this project, 86 Astoria, they did not meet with the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council or the West Selden and the City Neighborhood Association, as reported by both neighborhood councils and associations. They are requesting for the applicant to defer to successfully complete the community process and meet with both those neighborhood associations. So at this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of the board on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands.
Okay. Would the applicant like to briefly respond to that before we make a motion?
Good question. We're willing to do that. I'm not sure the owner, whether or not she's on this hearing. Natalie, are you on? I think it's important for us to go through the community process. So I think it's important for us to meet with the neighborhood and present the project, hopefully getting support from the neighborhood and the neighborhood organizations, the two neighborhood organizations as well.
Okay. With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of deferral, but I also would like for the applicant to explore a basement unit without any kind of code violation, to use this time to explore that avenue. But the motion to put forward is a deferral.
Is there a second? Thank you. Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Baraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Is there a date for Mr. Pratt?
Yes, Madam Chair. June 4th would be the date.
Mr. Pratt, is that acceptable?
Yeah, as long as we can get on the neighborhood groups and present to them before that date, I assume, well, that's...
Okay. Well, please connect with Mr. James then, the ONS person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Still on?
I don't know, but you should connect with him offline. Offline. Thank you.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a note that we have become a 6-member board, so we are a 6-member board today for any additional applicants. Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes, Madam Chair. will go next to case BOA 1513573 with the address of 333 Freeport Street. If the applicant is present, and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Mike, can you raise your hand if you're on for this? Oh, yeah, you can unmute yourself as a panelist.
Hello. Yes. My lawyer. I think he's on. Have to wait.
You know what his name is, so we can look for him?
Scott Holm.
Yep, I've unmuted you, Scott. Go ahead.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not a Zoom expert. We practiced yesterday, but it didn't work. So good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Holmes, and I'm the attorney that represents Duke Nguyen, who is in the middle of trying to change a part of a piece of property that he owns at 333 Freeport Street in Dorchester. I'm not sure if the board is familiar with the Freeport Street, but this is a section that dovetails off of Dot Ave and then connects to Morrissey Boulevard. He bought this property, honestly, with the hope of having body art and body piercing on the ground floor, with the second floor being available to him to rent to his brother or to his father. He didn't realize at the time, in all honesty, that this was going to be something where we need to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals with, because for some reason this particular area is it's forbidden to have this particular business. I've done a lot of research in this area, so we're not trying to plop what society at once looked at was with some negativity, which was that it was drawing a bad crowd or the wrong people. Mr. Nguyen owns Holistic Inc. that's on Dot Ave. And the reason why he's been trying to make this shift is he does not own that building, and there's a threat that his landlord is going to convert it into condominiums. And so he went looking for another place to operate his business. He did submit yesterday a lengthy 3 pages with a lot of neighborhood work that we did in order to gain support. You'll see, even though it's kind of hard to see, all the abutters have agreed to it and don't find any offense with it. The building could use some love, and that's what he hopes to do. If I could just address a couple of other things, please. This is a reasonable zoning relief because it's minimal to achieve the use of this house. If you're not familiar with this, I urge you to go onto Google and just look at what Freeport Street is. There are sections set up for industry, small industries. It does house a business right next to him on the other side of Everdeen Street is it comes up as Everdeen Street address, but it actually is 337 Freeport. It houses 4 businesses in this nice building, and no objection to that, but I think an equal application of zoning rules and laws would be a wonderful break and a wonderful thing for this section of Dorchester. I know that this bylaws or this particular rules were written, I believe, from my research in 2002, but times have changed. And
Mr. Holmes, why don't you pause and let's see if we have questions from the board.
Please.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns from the board? Okay, hearing none, let's take public testimony.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office could defer to the judgment of this board. ONS hosted an abutters meeting on December 6th of 2023. There are no objections raised at that abutters meeting, from what I understand. I believe the applicant has been in contact with the local civic group. We do not have any letter of support or opposition on file from abutters or that civic association. With that information, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this Mr. Hampton?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Jeff Hampton, BPDA. We're in support of this. I want to give a little clarity on where this building is. It's really right next to the intersection of where Morrissey and Freeport Street come together. There's a gas station on the corner, and there's a Union, a couple of houses, and then I think there's a real estate office right next door. The reason why it's forbidden is because it's a residential zoning district. If you go in on that street, it's a one-family zoning area. So we're in support of it because it abuts, it's on Freeport, it doesn't go into Clam Point at all. So I just wanted to give a little clarity on where exactly this building is. It's on a major thoroughfare. The entrance to the expressway is right there too. So, but I do want to state for the record that the BPDA is in support of this.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Baraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Pinato?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you much.
Next, we have case BOA 1567925 with the address of 20 Pearl Street. If the applicant and/or the representative is present, will they explain to the board, please?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is James Christopher with the business 686 Architects with the business address at 10 Forbes Road in Braintree. Here tonight on behalf of Marty Pachuski, who is the former owner of this property. The precipice for this project is that the property has been taxed as a three-family since 2011. The owner thought the legal occupancy was a three-family. The property was sold as a three-family, and during the sale, the fact that the legal occupancy was a two-family came to light. So as such, we've filed applications with the city to correct the occupancy from a 2 to a 3 legally. There is no work to happen. The building has 3 kitchens already. It's set up as a 3-family. The previous owner was living there with his mother, so they were using it as a 2-family. He lived with his family and she operated in the other unit. We did install a sprinkler system as a life safety measure, and that work is already completed. But this is just for the legal change in occupancy. We held an abutters meeting and met with Columbia Savin Hill, where there were some concerns about the future of the project, but this owner and current setup is to change it to 3. And should any other projects be coming, then that applicant would have to file to do that.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. So the background information in the community process, ONS hosted an abutters meeting February 20th. Stemming from that abutters meeting, we did not receive any letters of support or in opposition. Some concerns, as the applicant's representation mentioned, involved who owned the building and what the future of the building would eventually be. Going to the Columbia Savin Hill Civic Association Planning Committee that narrowly voted to support, and then went on to the CSHCA's broader general membership, which voted to support with a wider margin. From that, I will defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Newman, can you just spell out CH blah, blah, blah for the rest of us?
Yes, that's the Columbia Savin Hill Civic Association.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'll avoid from using that abbreviation.
Thank you. Any other raised hands, Jessica?
No raised hands.
Okay, with that, may I have, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. Hello, Madam Chair, members of the board, Liam from Councilor Fitzgerald's office. Our office would like to go on record in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Baraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Pinato?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we have case BOA 1568342 with the address of 134 to 140 Smith Street. The Is the applicant and or the representative present to explain to the board?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. We are proposing a two-story addition to an existing single-story building. This building is about 80 feet by 26 feet in width, and the two upper stories will be occupied by two apartments each, 2 bedrooms on each apartment. There are slightly under 800 square feet, and the first floor will remain as a restaurant. The existing entire floor is currently occupied as a bar restaurant. We will reduce the size of that business to about 400 plus square feet and add 2 studios apartment. As you can see from that elevation, this building is adjacent to several high-rise buildings, and one immediately across the street from it on the Smith Street. Also, on the left-hand side, if you're standing in front of Worthington Street, there are multiple row houses that are about 3 stories in height. We met with the Landmarks Commission. This building is in a historic landmark district, and we will not be able to make any changes to the existing single-story building. Therefore, we will preserve, restore that single-story, and we will build on top of it. The setback on Worthington Street, as requested by the Landmarks, will match the existing street wall on that street for the row houses, and the height is consistent as well with all those buildings, residential buildings on that street. This, according to the landmark records, this is a contemporary intrusion. There are records that the building was originally built in 1898 as a storage building. However, there is a subsequent record from 1927 that make reference to a business, a store proposal on it, and I believe that is the accurate record for it. So again, as I said, we will preserve the existing structure and build on top, respecting the setback for the row houses on the left side of the building. The violations are standard. This is a transit-oriented development. We are within less than a quarter of a mile of public transportation. There is obviously no parking. We have a rear yard violation, floor area ratio, as expected in usable open space. And with that, I conclude my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Santana. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. ONS hosted a butters meeting on June 8th of 2023. A few concerns were raised about what residents felt is too much development going on in this area, referencing a couple of BPDA projects nearby, as well as the shadow impact to the abutting apartment building. Afterwards, we did hear from a neighbor on a butter who's concerned about potential blocking of sunlight into her apartment, as well as concerns about construction impacts. The Community Alliance of Mission Hill expressed that they're in support of this application. The Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Services did not support because they felt the units will eventually be rented out to undergraduates, which they remain opposed to. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Lily Suderman with Councilor Durkin's office. I would like to read a statement on her behalf. This proposal is the type of development that the city needs more of. A mixed-use building serves the many needs of residents, both current and future. The applicant's proposed addition of housing on their site serves as a great example of the opportunity long-term respected property owners on Mission Hill have to expand housing in the neighborhood that is so greatly needed. I ask the board and its members to vote in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have no additional raised hands.
Okay, any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval with a proviso that the project undergoes Boston Landmarks Commission review.
DURK. Okay.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have case BOA 157002 with the address of 100 St. Alphonsus Street. This is an Article 80 case. The applicant and or their representative explain the case of the board.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney John Pugini on behalf of the proposal at 100 St. Alphonsus Street. It's also known in numbers as 1558 Tremont Street, Mission Hill. This is an Article 80 live project that was approved by the BPDA board this past October. The property is made up of two parcels, which when combined will be a 20,687 square foot parcel. One parcel is zoned multifamily residential, and the other that fronts Tremont Street is neighborhood shopping. This property is located at the corner of St. Alphonse and Tremont Street with Pontiac Street to the left. As I stated, this proposal went through a more than 2-year Article 80 process, which commenced with an LOI, which was filed on July 22nd, 2021. The proposal is for a 6-story mixed-use building containing 95 residential apartments with approximately 3,228 square feet of first-floor retail and 53 off-street parking spaces. 44 of those spaces will be designated to the Boston Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, or Mission Church, under a prior agreement. The benefits associated with the proposal are significant, including 16 affordable units, 13 are at 70% AMI, and 3 will be at 60% AMI. As you can see from the drawings, the development team, together with the BPDA staff, BPD, and Public Works, spent a lot of time on not only the design of the building, but also the improvements to the public domain. These improvements include the construction and expansion of sidewalks for a better pedestrian experience, the installation of street trees, bordering the development, the expansion of an existing bus shelter, a $15,000 donation to the city parks funds, and over $49,000 to install a 15-space bike share station. This building will be LEED Gold certified. It will be all electric heating and cooling, water-saving features, increased insulation, electric car chargers in the garage for 25% of the parking, and the other 75% will be EV ready. Additionally, it's designed for the installation of solar. Working with BTD and the BPDA Transportation for a designated pickup and drop-off spaces for Uber and Lyft. This proposal is a planner's dream, checking all the boxes for the mayor's office, for the mayor's housing goals, by allowing greater density on major thoroughfare that is served well by transportation. With a 3-minute walk to the Green Line at Brigham Circle and a 5-minute walk to the Orange Line located at Roxbury Crossing, in addition to several bus lines located at Tremont Street, this truly is a walker's paradise. All of this without any displacement. This proposal transforms a blighted vacant site into much needed housing with significant affordable housing at that. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Carlos Uribe from Embark to walk through the plans, and thanks again for the opportunity to present this proposal. Carlos?
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for hearing us out today. I'm Carlos Uribe. I'm here representing Embark today. And would you mind going to the plans? If not, I can share them on my screen too.
And that's sort of a statement that we're beginning to lay out.
The visuals up front, plans
and it's going to be colorful bubble elections that we have produced before. So that's the process, and we're working through that with the assumption that we're going to.
Okay, I'm not sure, is the architect presenting or what's going on?
I can't really hear you. Carlos?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now we can. It's very, very faint.
Okay, sorry about that. Whose screen is this showing?
This is we're looking at the plans.
Yeah, whose screen is this? This is yours?
No, this is.
You are not able to share your screen. This is what you submitted to us.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Could you scroll further down, please? The plans are after these.
That's the latest of the team sheet. Version of it.
So
this option.
we're presenting today 95 units with a mix of 59 studios, 22 one beds, and 14 two beds. They are evenly distributed throughout the plans, and we have 2 levels of parking. One level is access from Pontiac Street at a higher level, and then the other parking level is access from St. Alphonsus at the lower one. As John had mentioned, we have a designated, if you scroll one page up, please. One more. Oh, sorry, it's in the other direction. We're scrolling and going to the first floor. There you go, thank you. We've gone through a rigorous process with the BPDA for these public improvements. One of those has been a full activated corner at the base there with a over 3,000 square foot cafe, and then with a separate lobby entry off of St. Alphonsus, which is at level and grade with the parking that we have right there. We also are showing a dedicated in-building loading, moving, and trash, and with an in-building bike storage, which meets the BPDA standards. And that should be it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the board?
In terms of the exterior design, I think we're
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Bojini, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Are these units rental or home ownership? No.
You're on mute.
Mr. Bojini?
They're rental, Mrs. Demers, sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I do. If the BPDA project manager can speak about the community process, because, you know, we received some letters regarding kind of a change of address and some concerns regarding communication regarding today's hearing. So it would be great if the BPDA project manager can speak on community process and what happened with the shift of the address.
I believe Ms. Benabarazza, Dan Polanco should be on this call. I can address the address change if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So when this
and it was brought up by the Commission Alliance of Mission Hill.
Yeah. So as with any project, when you go through the Article 80 process, the address at that time was 1558 Tremont. When you submit your plans to ISD, as you know as an architect, the address is established where the front door is for the entrance to the building. So that is where the St. Alphonsus address came from. So it's just an ISD internal thing. The address, you know, the building itself could be named anything down the road, but it is, you know.
Okay, I think the BPDA project manager would like to speak, so.
Yes, I think Mr. Polanco is on. Thank you. Let's hear from him.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Daniel Polanco here, project manager BPDA. I was, yes, I think the proponent can speak on the change of address. I was not aware of the change of address. However, in our internal review, you know, the project did get BPDA approval. However, they made the changes throughout the process, and the planning and urban design supported these changes. While there was some opposition, they did complete requirements of Article 80, and we felt that it was appropriate, an appropriate development. And yes, we were aware of a lot of opposition. We did communicate through our BPDA process, the meetings that we held, the public meetings, and all the changes that were made internally with the proponent were distributed to the community. Again, Madam Chair, I cannot speak on the change of address. I wasn't too aware of that. However, we do, like I said, we do went through the community process, and we were aware of the opposition. However, again, through our Article 80, we do host meetings and we do publish them online. And if folks, you know, are in our BPDA website database, they get the distribution of the meeting. So.
Do you have a record?
So Mr. Blanco, I think the question is about community, the community piece, more so than the address.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
Some of the critique has been that because of the address change, there was not enough notification for the communities to be present today to speak on the project. So I just wanted to understand that duration. And then also if you can speak on what was on record of the amount of opposition versus support.
Right, and what I was, again, in terms of the address change, I think the proponent has more information on that. As BPDA, we didn't know much about this address change until recently. Again, I can't speak on that. However, on the opposition, yes, a lot of it came from the history that the proponent has with the community, and again, in terms of design, in terms of we were able to manage changes, which, you know, what we recommended they did. There was a lot of opposition because of the long history that the proponent has with the community, and I guess there's some history there, and that was most of the opposition. Again, the way we communicate our public meetings is through the BPDA website. And again, I don't have an answer on the address because I wasn't, we weren't aware. We passed it on our BPDA board as 5058 Tremont Street. The way it was advertised by the ZBA, we just had anything to do with that.
Okay, well, I see the chair of one of our civic groups there, so maybe we can open it up to public testimony.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office will defer to the judgment of this board. As you heard, this has gone through a lengthy BPDA-led community process stemming back from, I believe, March of 2022 with the first Impact Advisory Group. Throughout that process, there's been revisions to this project, and I understand that the applicant has worked with nearby church to provide parking for parishioners. We did receive that letter from the Community Alliance of Mission Hill. I believe they'll be able to speak more to that, raising their opposition to this proposal, citing concerns about the height and the style of units being proposed. I believe mostly studios that they feel are not conducive to having long-term residents stay in the community. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
So can I hear from Bruce Bickerstaff, who he was a member of the IAG? I just want to understand that process too. If you're available, Mr. Bickerstaff. Jessica, is he?
Is he on? I don't see his hand raised. Oh, okay.
All right, well then let's keep going and you can work on that.
Yeah.
I see Mr. Feinborn, Mr. Martin.
Hello, Martin Weinborn, Ms. Chair, members of the board. I'm here for the Community Alliance of Mission Hill, and as was mentioned, we voted anonymously against this proposal, and this was in line with many submitted letters from the community. I want to quickly mention the change of address. We were completely unaware of it. As you saw on the plans that were shown, was stamped on 100 St. Alphonsus, but it was really 1558. So I'm concerned that many people wouldn't attend today because they just didn't know. I heard complaints from neighbors who were notified and others who were not notified. And even more confusing, I saw on one of the slides that the address was marked as 130 St. Alphonsus Street. So I think it's very confusing. Regarding the reason for our opposition, it was not so much about the reputation, it was mostly about that the project was too high, too dense, has too little parking. I think there's only 9 parking spaces dedicated to 95 units. It's all rental, and we are concerned that the transiency in the neighborhood will further increase. And last thing is, we're also concerned whether there's a deed restriction in place that has been discussed to avoid renting it to undergraduate students. Many of these buildings have become dormitories in the neighborhood, and maybe some of the other community members can say more about this, where this stands. But the Community Alliance and basically the overwhelming majority of residents are opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you,
Bruce?
Bruce.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Your question? Well, good morning, August, Zoning Board. If there are any questions that you have for me specifically, I can speak to the issues.
Well, I think we'd like to understand the IAG, what transpired and, was the IAG in support or not? I mean, this is not a conversation, so if you have testimony you want to provide, please provide.
In the case, it was, as you can see from the results, that the IAG was in favor of, there was a bit of concern through the community, but the IAG as a whole was in favor of the redevelopment of that eyesore for a number of years.
Okay, thank you. Any other raised hands?
Yes, I'll go to Patricia, then Julie, and then Alice. Patricia, go ahead. Patricia, we'll go to Julie.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, honorable members of this and Chairwoman. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. We represent, my name is Julie Berry, we represent the butter located at 1548 and 1550 Tremont Street and 140-142 St. Alphonsus Street. We share the concerns raised previously about the change of address, but specifically I'm asking the board to consider the objections that were raised in our comment letter of April 26, 2024 concerning the outsized impact on these two parcels owned by 1548 LLC. They are surrounded basically on three sides by this project. And while I heard Mr. Bickerstaff say that it might be good to see this eyesore, undeveloped eyesore being put into use, that doesn't need to be with 95 units. Everything that's wrong with this project is based on its excessive FAR and all of the things that flow from that. Noise, privacy, light and air. My client's properties will be in shadows pretty much in perpetuity, 3 seasons of the year. There are issues concerning traffic and congestion, not just for vehicle traffic, but for pedestrians. And the construction management program that's going to need to be in place to avoid the total disruption of both residences and businesses during what is obviously going to be a multi-year project being developed. The project's very need for the significant number of variances, none of which we can tell that it's actually entitled to. A Google Earth search aerial version will show that the property is the same shape, size, soil conditions, etc., as the surrounding properties. So at the very least, we would ask the board to give much further consideration to whether this applicant is entitled to these things, and only after providing additional information as to the impacts on the direct and immediate butters, both in terms of light, air, traffic, and noise, but also all of the construction issues that are going to flow from this project. There's a vacant 3-story building there right now. The addition of 95 units into this neighborhood, which very well may end up being housing for students, as we've heard, is going to create a substantial impact on my client and on this neighborhood. And so we asked the board to deny the requested relief. They haven't demonstrated they're entitled to it in any way. But, at the very least, it needs to be studied much further as to whether it's entitled to the significant zoning relief that's requested. And we rely on our comments in detail in our letter of April 26. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Patricia?
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Patricia Flaherty. I live at 122 Calumet Street in Mission Hill. I'm also the Executive Director of Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Services, community development group working in Mission Hill since 1974. And I submitted a letter. I won't read the entire letter. I do want to say a couple of things. One is I note that the BPDA representative said that the opposition was related to the developer's relationship in the community, but I will say that Mission Hill NHS supported two of this developer's previous developments on Tremont Street. With those developments, we reached an agreement on design and program that was supportable, and then we reached an agreement related to undergraduate student housing. In this case, we could not reach an agreement related to the design and program. As you can see, that there were some changes made, as the BPDA representative pointed out, related to the facade on Tremont Street. However, if you look at the project as it goes up Pontiac Street and St. Alphonsus Street, we maintain that the project is too high, too dense, and truly overshadows the three families that are on all sides of this development. It does not fit into the residential context on this side of Tremont Street as it is marching up the hill. We believe the BPDA did a disservice to the neighborhood, and while I've worked with some of the folks who testified many times before, I have to say that Mission Hill NHS had a representative on the IAG. The IAG never supported this project. If you look through the BPDA website, there are hundreds of letters opposing this project throughout the community process. And the BPDA determined that they would move on with the project at a density that we feel does not do a service to the neighborhood, and with a program of mostly studios and one-bedrooms that also will not service the neighborhood or the city in terms of stabilizing rental housing or stabilizing home ownership, which we would like to see in this location. Additionally, it is many of the items that were raised by the attorney for the project as benefits are requirements, and the provision of parking for the Basilica was a requirement related to the sale of the project. It was not a community benefit. And in fact, part of the problem with that requirement is that there's too few parking spaces for the development proposed, and the proposal got higher and denser in order to support that commitment to parking that was required as part of the acquisition.
Ms. Flaherty, can you please wrap up? We do have other raised hands.
Sure, I'm sorry. So this project is requiring more than 6 significant zoning variances. There is not mitigation, especially at this busy corner, at the corner of Tremont and St. Alphonsus Street. We still don't understand how deliveries and drop-offs are actually going to work right at that light, and we believe that there are many unaddressed negative impacts to this project, and we ask for your consideration of our concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Hampton?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Jeff Hampton, BPDA. I just wanted to go a little clarify from Ms. Betta Barraza about the project's community process. There were 3 IAG meetings, and there were also 3 public meetings held. I believe they were all advertised in the Gazette for Mission Hill. They were also sent out to the subscribers of the Mission Hill neighborhood update list. So I know there were at least 6 public hearings that were advertised and held, 3 IAG, 3 public. I just wanted to clarify that a little more for Ms. Betta Barraza. I didn't want her to think that we didn't have an answer for. That's all.
Yeah, no problem, Ms. Ann. It just came, I just wanted to make sure that the residents knew that the hearing was today, and it previously had a different address, that's all.
Okay, no, I just wanted to clarify in case you had any more questions, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jessica, other raised hands?
Sure, yeah, we have 3 more. Do you want me to try to get to all 3?
Let's see what we can get through.
Okay, go to Patricia.
He just spoke.
Okay, sorry. Shiva.
Hi, my name is Shiva. I'm a resident of Mission Hill. I just wanted to say I'm in support of this project. I walked by that that unit every single day when I walk home. It is really just an eyesore, and not to mention, it kind of, for people who walk by every day, it's almost eerie. It's just an abandoned, empty building in the middle of Mission Hill, and a brand new building would honestly bring life and make it more vibrant to the neighborhood. So I'm just here to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Madam Chair, members of the board, this is Mina Perez representing hundreds and union carpenters that live and work around the city of Boston, in particular our members that live in Mission Hill. It is very important to point out that this project will help to alleviate the needs of housing in the city of Boston. As mentioned at the last BPDA board meeting, many projects that had been approved are not moving forward because of lack of funding. It's a big problem we have out there. A lot of projects are not moving forward, and it is our belief this project is greatly needed. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Okay, I see one more raised hand. Let's stop with that. The last raised hand. James, is it James?
James?
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, my name is James. I also live in the neighborhood. I actually went to college in the neighborhood. Once I graduated, I kind of left for a bit, just only because there was very minimal housing for a lot of us students who do graduate. And I've been actually following this project for a while. I've only been seeing kind of like 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms out in this neighborhood for a bit now. So I was actually very excited. I was trying to getting into kind of the other properties nearby that were renovated, such as I think like the Tremont. I think there was also one Longwood Row, Valor properties, even the Longwood. However, those projects, the properties were getting rented way too quick. There was no availability. All the other ones that I had options for were more so, I would say, like very uncared for. The landlords, I feel, so in the neighborhood don't really try to improve the properties as much. So when I saw a project like this, kind of people in our industry were looking at it, we're kind of following it. We're also trying to see more happening to the neighborhood, only because a lot of us are kind of getting a little bit pushed out, just because there is no 1-bedroom housing for just a single adult now, compared to finding 4 or 5 bedrooms, and we kind of don't want to live that college lifestyle. So, I mean, just wanted to say I'm in full support of this project, and I think a lot of us are excited for it. I think it's going to bring a lot of life to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Mr. Pogini, do you want to address the question about the deed restriction? It sounds like it's been something,
Thank you, Madam Chair, that's a very important point. So the proponent has had these agreements in place on his other properties as well, that he puts a deed restriction so there's no undergraduate rentals. And undergraduates will live in the property, and we are more than happy to have that as a proviso of this decision. We have represented that to the community. We represented that to Patricia Flaherty and her staff at Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Services. So we've right from the jump, that was out there, and it continues to this moment.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to address before or are there any other questions from the board?
I have another question regarding to the BPDA project manager regarding Article 80 large project review. Has there been a kind of impact report done in regards to displacement in the area of Mission Hill, and whether this actually exacerbates that or reduces that trend, because you potentially, when you do have smaller studio, you are kind of catering to, as mentioned, non-families. So does the Article 80 have that type of review? I know that they do that with transportation, but is that in play right now?
Yes, it does. We have at the time review housing folks that work with we also work with the Mayor's Office of Housing to review all that, and that information, that data was actually incorporated into what the projections were for the amount of units that they had. So yes, we do have folks work internally with that, and we make sure we let the proponent know how much, what actually do we need to see in terms of And then also, obviously, in terms of a broader area, like where displacement is, all that stuff we do cover, and we actually do add that to the board memo as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve it with the deed restriction, with the proviso for the deed restriction, so no undergraduate housing.
Is there a second?
I'm happy to, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stumbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Benabraza?
No.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Next, we have case BOA 154-7315 with the address of 268 to 274 Friend Street. This is a cannabis case. If the applicant and the representative is present, can they explain to the board, please?
Hey, I'm Mr. Stenbridge. Hello, everyone. This is Mike Ross, attorney for the law firm of Prince Sobel. I'm here with Matt McKenna from Ascend, who's the Director of Government Relations, regarding what is an existing retail dispensary that opened in May of 2021 at this address. Now, Madam Chair, I did prepare a presentation for you. You know, there's no construction at this site. This is a use-only matter. I have some visuals. I don't see them up for some reason, but you know, I just want to let you know that we did prepare and the board has it.
Understood, and so basically there's no work to be done, no interior exterior changes. You're just adding, you want to add the medical marijuana use, correct?
That's correct. There's actually two items, Madam Chair. One is to add medical marijuana use, as you mentioned, and the second would be to remove a proviso on the original decision that says there needs to be a 5-year renewal call. When this was approved, this is one of the first dispensaries, the first dispensary, I think, when it was approved for adult use. It was very early, and I think the board at the time was tentative and said, come back to us in 5 years for a renewal. So, you know, since then, there's been lots of dispensaries that have opened, been no incidents at this particular dispensary, and so we would now like to remove that proviso going forward. So those are the two items.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
Is this for the same applicant, Mr. Ross?
Yes, it is, Mr. Valencia. It's just to add medical use. In order to add medical use, just so you know, in Massachusetts, you actually need to be cultivating as well. For this reason, there's very few medical operators throughout the city and throughout the state, because you also have to cultivate somewhere in Massachusetts. It's a rule from the CCC. It's actually pretty unique to Massachusetts. They're thinking about changing it. But in the meantime, in order to have medical, you need to be one of those companies that cultivates as well. Ascend is one of those companies, and they would now like to add the medical use at this facility.
Thank you.
Thank you. May we have public testimony?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. ONS hosted a community meeting on December 11th. The applicant went on to meet with the West End Civic Association, which offered a letter of non-objection. We're unaware of any concerns at this time. I'd like to defer to the board. Thank you.
Hello, yes, Lily with Councilor Durkin's office again. I'd like to read another statement of support. As the district councilor for the Bullfinch Triangle, I am confident that such an addition to Ascend's license would be a productive addition to their business. Having operated here for the past 2.5 years, the business is now familiar with the neighborhood. Having extensively engaged with the West End Civic Association and has the proper operations and capacity to offer products for medical use as well. I ask the board and its members to vote in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jay Walsh on behalf of the Downtown North Association. Our board met with the applicant and their team recently to discuss the addition of medical marijuana distribution at the site, and we have no objections. We'd like to be recorded in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
No additional raised hands.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
I make a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Barraza, second.
Mr. Sturbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion carries. Good
Thank
luck.
you very much. Have a nice day.
Next, we have case VOA 1563621 with the address of 198 Marion Street. If the applicant and/or their representatives present, will they explain to the board, please?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins with a business address of 245 Summer Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner and the owner of 198 Marion Street. I'll probably jump down to slide 3 at this time. Madam Chair, relatively straightforward proposal. We are proposing to change the existing use and occupancy of the mixed-use building, which has ground level retail with 2 residential units above. We're eliminating that ground level retail and proposing to add that as a residential unit, which will become the unit for the current owner. If we want to slide down, jump down to the next slide, please. Just a couple of different views of the existing conditions here. As you can see, it's the building on the right side with the yellow awning. The signage for the retail use would be removed. Next slide, please. Just showing our flood plain and flood hazard districts. We're not located in the flood hazard district. However, we were cited for coastal flood resiliency overlay district as well as GCOD. This was filed under the prior version of Article 53, and therefore CFROD is not applicable to this size project, although GCOD is. We were also cited for IPOD, which expired in November of 2023. Next slide, please. Jump down, next slide, please. So our site plan here shows the existing building. We're not proposing any change with respect to the footprint of the building or the height of the building. As a result, in light of the recent zoning amendments that were adopted by the Zoning Commission last week, this project would be in compliance with the new provisions of Article 53 and specifically the new sub-district, which would be EBR3. Within the EBR3, a 3-family residential use is allowed, although we were cited for insufficient usable open space, which typically would have been an item that would have been triggered as a result of adding residential units. That requirement is eliminated under the amended Article 53, and therefore this would be a legally pre-existing non-conforming structure. Any of the new dimensional controls, including maximum lot coverage and minimum permeable area, we would be exempt from, since this is not necessarily a project that we're adding any additional square footage. There are provisions in the new amended Article 53 that allow for these existing uses to continue, and certainly the change of use to a conforming use would be appropriate. Next slide, please. See our floor plans here. We're not proposing any habitable space in the open basement area. That will continue to be operated for utilities, storage, etc. The main work that is being proposed is on that first level, which is the prior retail location. If we could just zoom out a little bit, probably see it a little bit better. And that would be, as I mentioned, the owner's unit that owns the building. Next slide, please. As you can see on our elevations, again, we're not changing anything with respect to the height of the building or the existing footprint that exists today, simply containing all of the work within the inside of the unit. So with respect to the other items we were cited for, normally when you change occupancy from a mixed use to all residential, the former version of Article 53 would have required additional parking under the new amended Article 53. However, parking for up to 3 units, there's no requirement, so we would be in compliance with that as well. I believe the BPDA did recommend approval for this, and I will pause there and answer any questions of the board.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Melavia Gomez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting for this project on September 13th of 2023. 2 abutters were present on the call. Both abutters agreed that a parking variance was preferable given the proximity to the nearby school. The proponent met with the Maverick Central Neighborhood Association and the group voted to support the project. At this time, our office would like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Chairman, Sebastian Farr from Councilor Toledo's office. The council will like to vote support the project. Thank you.
I see no additional raised hands. Thank you.
With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval with BPDA design review, paying special attention to address resiliency, given it is prone to coastal flooding.
Hey, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, there was no exterior work being proposed, so I'm just curious if the BPDA design review is applicable. I don't
Mr. Hampton, do you want to weigh in on that one?
Sure, Madam Chair. Yeah, if there's no exterior work, I don't want it.
Okay.
So I'll put forward a motion of approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case BOA 1563720 with the address of 200 Everett Street. The applicant and/or the representative explain to the board, please.
Yes, good morning again, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lynn's business address of 245 Summer Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner, Ali Abdullah and Yulia Daniels. They are the owners of the property at 200 Everett Street. We can scroll right down to slide 11, I think would be helpful.
Slide 11, he said?
11, please, yes. Thank you. Perfect. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, this is a pre-existing single-family dwelling located in the Jeffreys Point section of East Boston. It is a corner lot condition located at the corner of Everett and Paramount Street. Our proposal would change the use and occupancy of the building from a one-family to a three-family, would add a vertical addition to the building, as well as perform a number of safety and life upgrades that would be required by the building code. This is also, and I'll try to be more brief about my zoning explanations, but because of the new zoning recently adopted, this too would be in the EBR3 district. A three-family dwelling is permitted within the district up to 35 feet in height, which is what we're proposing. As I mentioned in the past presentation, there is no parking requirement. We originally did intend to include off-street parking to the rear of the property. However, based upon an understanding and a commitment we made to the direct abutter to our left, we've eliminated the parking from the site, and that is still a compliant condition under current zoning. In addition, we reduced our proposed rear deck that was originally as part of this project to allow for more access, light and air for the direct abutter. And that direct abutter has requested that we've also provide them with easement rights over our property to access their rear yard out to Aramon Street, which we've agreed to do in connection with the modifications of this project. If we want to jump down to the next slide, I can show the existing site plan. So as you can see, as I mentioned, this corner lot condition shows the building pretty much going lot line to lot line to the sides, and a relatively short setback in the rear of the property, which is a condition that's pretty typical in this section of East Boston. There is a rear deck off the back of the building. We are proposing to stay within the envelope of our building, as well as the rear deck, again, based upon our conversations with the direct abutter. If we want to jump down to slide 19, please. So we can see here for our proposed ground level, which is a full walkout condition to the rear of the property, as well as the upper level, which would be part of the first unit. We do maintain, again, the existing footprint of the building, as well as the rear deck condition is something that we've committed to with the direct abutter next door. Next slide, please. As you can see here with our second and third levels, we are proposing a 1 and a 2 bedroom unit, and then we do propose a roof deck that would be exclusive to the upper level unit only. Next slide, please. From an elevation standpoint, we're showing the right side of our building as well as the front. As part of the architectural features for the addition, we do propose bump outs that are consistent with the de minimis projection policy for the city of Boston, which allows us to create that architectural feature above the first level, but within 24 inches of the building itself, so we don't extend out further than 24 inches. It does provide additional space for those units, as well as a feature that is pretty consistent with a number of the projects that have been completed along Everett Street. Next slide, please. See our rear elevation as well as our right side elevation, which shows it in relationship to the butter to our left. And again, you can see the rear decks as well as the access up to the roof deck. With respect to the relief, not unlike the last project that we just presented, this was filed before the amendments to Article 53 went into effect. Because we were cited for matters such as rear yard and side yard because of the proposed addition, those violations would be eliminated under new zoning, since the amended Article 53 permits vertical additions that stay within the footprint of the building to be allowed as a matter of right, provided they don't exacerbate any of the setbacks that are currently non-conforming under the existing conditions. In addition, we were cited for usable open space. Usable open space would be a requirement under old Article 53, where you're adding additional units, you'd be required to add open space for each unit. Again, because this would be a legally pre-existing footprint, our building lot coverage and permeability would not be affected, since we would be a pre-existing condition. However, by making the modifications that we propose, we are actually adding permeability. So that rear portion, which is paved over currently, will be created to be part of a permeable surface. And with respect to the floor area ratio, the current condition would be non-conforming under the prior version of Article 53. There is no floor area ratio maximum any longer under the proposed Article 53 or the newly enacted Article 53, and therefore we would comply with that as well. We also were cited for GCOD, which we do have the compliance letters that we included, and iPod, which expired in November of 2023. I will pause there and answer any questions of the board.
Thank you. Can you confirm the easement that you discussed? Several of your abutters weighed in on that, not just 198. What's the easement cover? Like which move?
We can go back to slide 13.
Does it cover 192 to 198?
No, it only covers our abutter to our left.
Okay, so 198.
198, correct.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
If Jeff Hampton can just speak on access to the roof deck from an exterior stair versus interior to the unit.
That actually wasn't a concern of ours, Ms. Hansi.
Yeah, so that's what, so is, are you okay with having exterior roof access, moving forward on projects? I know that it's preferable to have interior access to the roofs just to kind of mitigate noise from the exterior and also to create, not kind of an open access from the ground to the roof, just for security measures as well.
Well, I can't say about projects going forward. I know in the past we have approved access to roof decks from spiral staircases. But it's something, now that you bring it up, I can look into with staff here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a proviso regardless that's recommended to review the roof deck, but I'll just add that as well, and it'll be great to kind of get your stance on it.
Yeah, I mean,
I know for East Boston is critical, so.
Yeah, I mean, we're not opposed to the roof deck, but I think it was just, the setbacks from the roof edge that was a concern for us.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
That's what we want to take a look at, but honestly, the stairs weren't an issue for us.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just add one brief item. So I do, I appreciate Ms. Better-Baraz's comments. We do note that these are two balconies at the lower levels. There is no access up to the roof from the ground. So we do appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why we were proposing this. In other instances, we do agree that where the stairs come all the way down to the ground, it does present somewhat of a security issue, and we would not want that either. So we fully understand that.
Thank you. With that, may I have public testimony?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Melovia Gomez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting for this project on January 4th of 2024. 2 abutters were present on the call. One direct abutter shared strong concerns about access to the back of his property being restricted due to the project. The back of his property is his emergency exit and his second egress. And the proponent met with the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. The group voted in February to oppose the project. The vote was 4 in support, 9 in opposition, and 1 abstaining. Based on an email sent to ONS yesterday by Attorney Lenz, it seems that the abutters' concerns were addressed and his opposition was withdrawn. Though our office has not received a letter from this abutter. At this time, our office would like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do you just see a raised hand? Brian, are you looking to give testimony here?
I just wanted to follow up on it. We did come to an agreement. I just wanted to make sure that there's a proviso or something in this confirming that easement in the back that we had discussed. So I'm the direct abutter next door.
Can you state your name and full address?
Brian Gannon, 198 Everett Street.
Thank you. I have no additional raised hands.
Madam Chair, just briefly, I know the past practice of the board has been not to include private arrangements, including easements. The easement is not required for the project. That is a private agreement between the parties and not something that I think the zoning board is in the business of policing. We've made the commitment. I've made the commitment on the record. I have communications with the abutter. We will honor that commitment based upon the terms that we provided to that abutter.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to, go ahead, David. You go ahead and put the motion.
I'll motion to approve with BPDA design review.
May I have a second?
Roz, a second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yeah.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Bebraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Let's take a 5-minute break, which will bring us just after 11. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Mr. Valencia.
Present.
Ms. Better Brazza.
Present.
Mr. Collins.
Present.
Ms. Panado.
Present.
All right, the floor is yours, Mr. Stenbridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll begin with the hearing scheduled for 11 a.m. First, we have case BOA.
You want to ask about deferrals, withdrawals first?
Good point, Madam Chair. We'll ask if there are any requests for withdrawals or deferrals from the 11 o'clock time frame. Hearing no requests for withdrawals or deferrals, we will go then to case BOA 1572059 with the address of 72 Hyde Park Avenue. We'll ask if there's an interpreter assigned to this case. Is that person present with us?
Yes, this is the Vietnamese interpreter.
Great. Sorry, before you proceed, can I also just remind applicants that this is a 6-member board? Sorry, please proceed.
Yeah.
Certainly. And with that, we'll ask if in addition to the applicant, if the owner, the representative and/or the applicant is present.
Hi, Mr. Stenbridge. This is Mike Ross. I am attorney with the law firm of Princeton. I'm joined today with co-counsel Derek Small, who initially worked on this project, along with David Choi, the architect. I think we have a good news story here for the board. The applicant appeared in front of the board in 2022 under an ERT permit. Where the board...
Mr. Ross, sorry, we do have an interpreter, so A, I'll ask you
sorry about that.
pause, and B, I'll ask you to spell out ERT for that person so that she knows how to translate it. The translator, would you like to begin? Ms. Nguyen?
Yes. Dạ, xin chào quý vị, đây là phiên dịch tiếng Việt. Thì dựa theo cái thông tin thì cái người nộp đơn đã đến cái văn phòng của chúng tôi vào năm 2022. Trong cái đơn là ERT.
Okay, Mr. Ross.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We were here on an ERT in 2022. It was approved by the board, and the approvals had to do with off-street parking, FAR, lot width, building height, and side yard setback.
Dạ, và cái đơn đó đã được thông qua, và cái này thì nó liên quan đến cái việc là đậu xe ở dưới lòng lề đường, FAR, cái kích thước, chiều rộng của cái bãi đậu xe, vân vân.
Afterward, the applicant, during preparing for construction, the applicant ran into an issue with a large tree in the back of the building. You might have read about it, where it appeared impossible to save the tree.
Và khi mà được thông qua rồi thì cái người nộp đơn đã đến với chúng tôi và nói cho chúng tôi biết là có một cái vấn đề về một cái cây rất là bự ở phía sau cái tòa nhà, và cái cây này thì có vẻ là chúng tôi không có thể cứu vãn cái cây này được.
The applicant agreed to work with the mayor's office, the council's office, the BPDA, in order to change the project, which is why we're here today.
Và cái người nộp đơn đã đồng ý làm việc với cái văn phòng của thống đốc, văn phòng của BPDA và văn phòng của cái người tư vấn để thay đổi cái dự án. Đây chính là lý do vì sao ngày hôm nay chúng ta có mặt.
Essentially, what the applicant wound up doing is taking the rear portion of the building, and I'll show you in a second, and taking that portion and putting it on the top of the building. And I can show you that in a second.
Và cái ý kiến của cái người nộp đơn là sẽ cắt bỏ cái phần sau của cái tòa nhà này và để cái phần này lên trên cái đầu của cái tầng trên cùng của cái tòa nhà. Tí nữa đây thì tôi sẽ cung cấp cái thông tin cho quý vị.
Madam Ambassador, slides 2 and 3 show a comparison of, a little hard to see, but it's really just to give you like a sense there of the before and after. Left is the 2022 plan. On the right is today's plan that's in front of you today. And slide 3, another vantage as well. 2022 on the left, an approved project, 2023 is what we're proposing today. You go to all the way, Madam Ambassador, oh, sorry, go ahead, Madam Interpreter.
Dạ vâng, thì quý vị có thể nhìn thấy cái hình ở đây, trong cái hình chiếu này đó, thì cái cột bên trái sẽ là cái công trình mà người ta đưa ra vào năm 2022, và cái hình bên phải sẽ là cái hình của cái bản thiết kế của năm nay.
Madam Ambassador, if you go to slide 10, A1, it's the site plan. It's several slides down. This will show you kind of the next. Yeah, that's great. So as you can see from this slide here, the rear yard setback in this district, it's required to be 20. What we now have is really twice that, 39 feet, 9 inches. Previously, it was 28 feet, 3 inches. So we moved it approximately 11 and a half feet. And if you see that little dashed red line along the back, that's where it was. And now you see there where it is.
Dạ, thì trên cái hình này thì quý vị sẽ thấy là cái phần sân sau thì nó có kích thước ban đầu hiện tại là 39 inch nhân 9 inch, trước đó là 28 inch nhân 3 inch. Chúng tôi đã tăng kích thước lên 11.5 feet. Xin lỗi, kích thước là 39 inch nhân 9 inch và là 28 feet nhân 3 feet. Kích thước tăng lên là 11.5 feet, và cái vạch màu đỏ đó là chứng tỏ là cái mà chúng tôi đã thay đổi.
So if you go to the next slide, this is we'll just walk you through the floor plans of the building now. This is the basement. It's all storage. That's what it was previously. You will see ramps on the side of the building on the right side. I'll show you that on the next slide.
Cái hình này chính là cái hình của cái tầng hầm. Thì cái tầng hầm này là để sử dụng để làm kho dự trữ, và cái này là nó cũng giống như trước đó, và quý vị sẽ thấy có một cái gọi là cái ramp, là cái đường đi lên dành cho xe lăn đó, và tôi sẽ cung cấp cho quý vị thêm thông tin ở cái hình tiếp theo.
The next slide is the floor plan for what we're calling the first floor. There's a substantial slope from the front of the building to the back of the building, and that ramp is what brings you really up an entire floor from the front. Follows the right side of the building or the bottom of your screen. That allows the unit 2 to be an fully accessible unit.
Và cái hình tiếp theo là quý vị sẽ thấy cái hình bản vẽ của tầng 1. Cái này là từ phía trước của tầng 1 này cho đến phía sau cùng của tầng 1, và quý vị sẽ thấy cái ramp dành cho cái người khuyết tật đó thì nó sẽ là để chạy khắp cái tòa nhà này luôn. Thì cái phần bên tay phải của quý vị chính là cái phần cuối của cái tòa nhà, và cái đường đi này dành cho người khuyết tật này thì nó sẽ giúp cho mọi người có thể tiếp cận vào trong cái tòa nhà này ở cái unit số 2.
And what we have here is Unit 1 and Unit 2. Unit 1 is, they're all 3-bedroom, 2 baths, all 6 units in this project. Unit 1 here on the left or on the top of your screen is 1,161 square feet, and Unit 2 is 1,143 square feet.
Và trong cái hình này thì sẽ có cái unit số 1 và unit số 2. Cái đơn vị unit 1 đó thì sẽ có những cái nhà là 3 phòng ngủ, 2 phòng tắm ở phía bên tay trái của quý vị đó. Và cái diện tích là 1.161 square feet. Còn cái ở đơn vị số 2 thì diện tích là 1.141 square feet.
And the next slide will show you units 3 and 4. Unit 3 is 1172, Unit 4 is 1183, also a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Và tiếp theo là quý vị sẽ thấy cái unit đơn vị số 3 và số 4 trong cái hình tiếp theo. Thì đơn vị số 3 thì có diện tích là 1.172, số 4 thì là 1.183.
And the next unit, these last 4 units I showed you were really substantially similar. It's really, this is the unit that changed a little bit. We created a duplex of these units. So Unit 5 and Unit 6 are now duplex with that little half story that's above them. So in total, you're looking at a 1618 for Unit 5 and 1623 for Unit 6.
Và chỉ có cái phần đơn vị số 5 và số 6 là nó có hơi khác biệt một xí, vì cái này nó có một cái gọi là duplex, có nghĩa là nó có một cái tầng lửng ở phía trong, thì thành ra là cái diện tích của đơn vị số 5 là 1618, còn đơn vị số 6 là 1623.
And the last floor plan slide, that will show you that half-story, calling it a mezzanine level. Here you go. That's right, Ambassador. Has a little front area as well, set back from the street. That's essentially the additional space that was lopped off the back of the building.
Và cái hình tiếp theo là quý vị sẽ thấy cái gác lửng ở đó, thì nó có cái phần gác lửng và nó có cái phần sân phía trước, thì nó có giúp cho cái phần này thì nó cách cái đường xá ra một xíu, và ngoài ra là đây chính là cái phần mà trước đó nó đã nằm ở cái phía bên hông nhà đó.
I was just going to run through the zoning relief, Madam Chair. So we were cited for additional lot area. Really, in Article 55's 3F5000, this type of building doesn't have an additional lot area requirement, but we were cited for that.
Dạ, và tiếp theo là chúng tôi sẽ xây dựng một cái miếng đất thì giống như là một cái bãi đậu vậy. Thì cái tòa nhà này thì chúng tôi không có cần bắt buộc phải có một cái bãi đậu. Tuy nhiên là chúng tôi vẫn quyết định là để một cái phần bãi riêng.
And then we were cited for FAR again, like previously, so I'm not sure we needed to. However, the FAR is exactly the same, actually. It's 1.42. It was 1.42 in 2022. It's now 1.42 today.
Và tiếp theo là cái phần về FAR, thì cái phần này nó không thay đổi. Năm 2022 là là 1.42, và năm này nó cũng vẫn như vậy, 1.42.
We were cited for use for the 6 units in a 3F5000.
Và cái này là để sử dụng cho 6 cái đơn vị và unit khác nhau, là có cái diện tích là 3.500.
We were again cited for stories for height, but this time we were also cited for feet for height, which is absolutely warranted. We're now at 51.6 as measured from the sidewalk out front, closer to 40 as measured from the rear.
Và chúng tôi sẽ tính cái chiều cao theo cái đơn vị là feet, thì theo chúng tôi đo được thì kể từ cái phần vỉa hè thì là nó sẽ có là 51.6.
And then finally, we were cited for open space. 3F5000 requires 150 per unit. We are well over that. We're close to 2,000. We're supposed to have 900. So we got cited for it, but we didn't need to be cited for that.
Dạ, thì cái tiếp theo là cái khoảng sân, thì nó là yêu cầu là 350, nhưng mà chúng tôi có tới là 2.000, thì có cái phần 900 này chúng tôi không có cần thiết, cái này chúng tôi rất là nhiều và dư.
Madam Chair, I'll pause there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you.
Tôi sẽ ngưng và để xem thử quý vị có bất kỳ cái câu hỏi gì không.
Any questions from the board?
You mentioned that you were creating an accessible ramp on the side. It's to bring accessibility to which unit?
Thank you, Ms. Bettarosa. If you go to slide, to the floor plan, Ambassador, slide 1, I mean, you'll see it's to create access to unit 2. Theoretically, however, Ms. Bettarosa, you could make access to both unit 2 and unit 1. You can see there how the rear, it brings you to the rear of the building there, up the side. That much slope is really needed in order to get that ramp all the way up there. So once you enter the rear of the building, you really could go in either direction. But unit 2, the one that's on the lower half of the screen there, was specifically designed with the turning radiuses in mind, as you can see by the small turning radius at the door. However, these units are substantially similar, almost the same. So really, you could get access to both units 1 and unit 2. And that deck, as you can see on unit 1.
Guys, can you pause to let the interpreter speak?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dạ, cái câu hỏi ở đây là quý vị xây dựng cái ramp, cái lối đi dành cho cái người khuyết tật đó, là để người đó người ta tiếp cận đi vào được trong cái khu nào. Thì cái câu trả lời là khu số 2. Tuy nhiên mà khi quý vị nhìn cái hình này thì cái đường đi này thì quý vị có thể đi vào được cả cái khu 1 và cái khu phía 2 luôn.
That deck on the unit above, unit 1 with the deck there, that deck ultimately travels to the rear of the building as well and connects to the ground at the rear of the building too. So
Right. But theoretically, you have access from the front to the 2 units, and you can go all the way to the back door to have access to the patio. You don't necessarily need accessibility kind of access to the sides. You could have access to the patio from the inside your unit.
you mean for unit 1?
I think, you can have it for both, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, this will allow you to gain access.
You just have to have a pumpkin, potentially garden at the rear. You would have to grade the rear to some extent if you were to have just outdoor access.
Understood, yeah. I mean, perhaps.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just making note that you just have, your building is already maximizing itself in the property line, and then you're just using the 2 kind of open space of the side yards to just do ramping structures.
Understood. I do think that ramp on the bottom is required. We had a ramp initially in 2022. I think you could probably get away without the deck on that other side. We're happy to look at that in the BPDA design review process. This should pass today.
Okay, let's.
And then, I'm sorry, and the other thing.
Can we let the interpreter speak?
Oh, I forgot.
Can you guys please pause? Thanks.
Dạ, thì trong hình thì quý vị thấy là ở cái dưới cùng thì sẽ có một cái đường ramp, là cái đường dành cho người khuyết tật, người ta đi vào trong cái tòa nhà này. Và khi mà người ta vào trong này rồi thì người ta có thể tiếp cận với tất cả những cái cơ sở hạ tầng khác của cái tòa nhà này ở bên trong, không có cần nhất thiết phải có cái đường đi ở phía bên ngoài. Thì cái đường đi bên ngoài là cái đường ở trên đó, thì quý vị thấy cái đó là hoàn toàn là không có bắt buộc. Nhưng mà ở đây thì người ta đã tận dụng hết tất cả những cái diện tích của tòa nhà và xây dựng những cái đường dành cho người khuyết tật này.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Let's open it up to public testimony.
Quý vị có hỏi gì không? Hoặc là những cái người tham gia có hỏi gì không ạ?
I was going to say we have a Vietnamese interpreter, so I assume we have someone who needs it. Maybe they could go first.
Dạ, thì quý vị nào cần phiên dịch tiếng Việt thì quý vị có thể đưa cái câu hỏi ra luôn ạ. Nếu mà quý vị muốn đưa cái câu hỏi, xin quý vị vui lòng đưa tay lên, hoặc là quý vị gõ cái câu hỏi của quý vị trong cái mục chat và người ta sẽ đọc cái câu hỏi của quý vị hoặc là gọi tên của quý vị.
Madam Chair, in the meantime, if I may go, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office would defer to the judgment of this board. Previously, the applicant received support from the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Council in August of 2022.
Dạ thì xin chào, tôi là anh Connor đến từ cái văn phòng của cái người thống đốc. Thì trước đó là cái dự án này đã nhận được cái sự đồng ý vào tháng 8 năm 2022.
In 2023, concerns about the preservation of a mature tree on the property emerged. The applicant has worked with the BPDA to alter designs to save the tree for the past few months. After a month of design review, the applicant submitted plans that preserve the tree and maintains the unit count.
Đến năm 2023 thì có một cái vấn đề lo lắng là về cái cây nó đã phát triển rồi đó ở phía sau cái nhà, và cái đơn vị này đã làm việc với DPA để đưa ra cái bản thiết kế, tái thiết kế lại cho cái tòa nhà này trong một vài tháng. Thì tháng trước là người ta đã đưa ra một cái bản thiết kế mới lại cho cái tòa nhà này để có thể là vẫn tiếp tục có đủ những cái số unit, cái số phòng mà vẫn không có ảnh hưởng gì đến cái cây.
The BPA is now comfortable with the design as it maintains accessibility and preserves the tree. At this time, the mayor's office does not have any other questions or concerns. We defer to the board. Thank you.
Và cái văn phòng của BPA thì người ta thấy là cái tòa nhà này có đủ những cái đường đi dành cho cái người khuyết tật và nó không có ảnh hưởng gì đến cái cây hết. Thành ra cái văn phòng của thống đốc người ta không có bất kỳ cái câu hỏi hay là cái lo lắng gì cả, và xin vui lòng gửi cái yêu cầu này tiếp theo đến hội đồng.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jordan Frias here from Councilor Benjamin Weber's office, District 6. We heard a lot about this since the previous fall. As we understand it, the developer has hired someone to oversee maintaining the tree at 72 Hyde Park Ave.
Dạ, xin chào, tôi là anh Jordan, tôi là cái người đại diện của cái văn phòng trong cái hội đồng BO ở cái quận số 6. Và từ khi cái dự án này được đưa ra thì tôi biết là có rất nhiều cái ý kiến liên quan đến cái vấn đề về bảo vệ cái cây đó.
They'll be making sure that the tree stays healthy and well and we have received assurances that maintaining the health and well-being of the tree is priority for them.
Và chúng tôi phải cùng làm việc với một cái người giám sát và phải đảm bảo là cái việc mà mình tiếp tục chăm sóc cho cái cây, rồi cái cây này nó sống, nó phát triển tốt là một cái điều hết sức quan trọng.
Because of this consideration, we're in full support of this proposal and the council wants to go on record in support. Thank you.
Và vì cái vấn đề này nên chúng tôi là sẽ tiến hành là đồng ý, ủng hộ với cái dự thảo mà quý vị đưa ra.
Thank you. I'll go to Katarina and then Faith.
Dạ, xin mời cô Katarina và cô Faith.
I may encourage folks to also put your comments in the record to help move this forward. It seems to be a lot of raised hands or comments in the chat.
Okay, can you hear me? I am Katerina Scaramelli of 48 Well Hill Street, just around the corner from the project. I can see the tree from my house. I'm one of the neighbors who organized to try and keep the developers' commitment to preserving the tree. I'm really happy with the new project. It's great that we get to keep the tree and the housing. And I want to know the name of the arborist and what measures will be taken to preserve the tree during construction.
Và tôi là cái người đại diện đến từ cái tòa nhà ở 48 Well Hill là ở đối diện, và tôi rất vui là được thấy là cái văn phòng này thì người ta đã có cái người để bảo vệ cái cây và vẫn giữ được cái tòa nhà này. Thì tôi chỉ muốn biết được cái tên của cái đơn vị mà sẽ bảo vệ cái cây này, cái đơn vị mà sẽ chăm sóc cái cây này trong tương lai.
Okay, Faith?
Oh, yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I live across on Wenham Street. I live across from Ken Pope, whose backyard overlooks the lot. And I just want to say, yes, I am really happy that we are going to preserve the tree because we need it, for, the tree canopy for, clean air and for heat control in the summer. And I also want to point out, obviously, that if that tree would be removed, the whole hillside would collapse, and it would collapse right into, the 72 Hyde Park Ave property. So this is, also a really practical consideration. But mostly, I just want to say that, the neighbors also, the new neighbors at 72 Hyde Park Ave will also be able to enjoy the same, cooling effects that we, the neighbors, want.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dạ, xin chào, tôi tên là cô Phết, thì tôi là cái người đại diện đến từ cái Seaport. Thì chúng tôi rất là vui khi mà cái cây này sẽ được giữ như vậy, không có bị chặt đi, bởi vì cái cây này sẽ có là cái đưa lại cái không khí tốt nè, không khí sạch, kiểm soát được cái độ nóng, làm cho không khí nó mát hơn bởi vì cái bóng che của cái cây này. Và tôi biết là nếu mà cái cây này nó bị chặt đi á, thì cái phần đất mà nó ở cái vùng hillside đó thì nó sẽ, nếu mà có vấn đề gì thì nó sẽ ảnh hưởng tới những cái vùng lân cận. Và nhân cái những cái người ở đường 72 Hyde Park thì cũng rất là vui khi mà cái cũng được hưởng những cái lợi ích từ cái cây này.
So I'm going to ask to pause here because I think it seems to me that most of the feedback is positive. If there's anyone who's not in support, if you're in support, can you put your hands down? And if you're not in support, can you raise your hand so we can make sure we hear from both sides?
Dạ, bây giờ tôi xin tạm ngưng một xíu bởi vì tôi biết là tất cả mọi người ở đây đa số là đều ủng hộ. Tuy nhiên nếu quý vị mà không có ủng hộ thì quý vị xin vui lòng đưa tay lên. Thì những cái người không ủng hộ thì mình sẽ đưa tay ạ.
And in the meantime, okay, thank you for putting the arborist info. So, Jessica, any raised hands in opposition?
Yeah, Matthew?
No, I'm sorry, I was in support.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I'm just trying to help move us along because I can tell from the chat that there's a lot of support, and so I just thank you for expressing that. So I'm going to ask if there are any other questions from the board.
Có bất kỳ câu hỏi gì từ cái phía hội đồng không ạ? Tại vì tôi thấy trong một chat là có rất nhiều người đồng ý ạ.
Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval with a proviso that the plans be reviewed by BPDA to ensure that tree roots are protected from all site excavation, and another special attention to the site planning, the landscaping, and the first ground floor to work with the context typology that you see of the ground floor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stembridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Bitter-Braza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
The chair also votes yes, the motion carries. So I would encourage the applicant to revisit speaking with your neighbors who have additional questions about, the arborist, et cetera. So please do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members.
Dạ rồi thì mọi người gọi là đồng ý rồi thì bây giờ quý vị, cái người nộp đơn thì quý vị xin vui lòng nói chuyện với cái người trong cái tòa nhà hoặc những người hàng xóm của quý vị để nói về cái vấn đề là bảo vệ cái cây, chăm sóc cái cây, hoặc cái đơn vị mà cái công ty người ta chịu trách nhiệm về cái chăm sóc cái cây đó.
Okay, thank you. So next case, and I don't think we need a translator for that one, but so yes, please proceed.
The next two are companion cases. First being case BOA 1562423 with the address of 12 Murray Hill Road. Along with that, we have case BOA 1562421 with the address of 12R Murray Hill Road. If the applicant and/or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Hi, let's see, Linda, is that you? I sent a request to unmute you.
I'm unmuted, thank you. This is Linda.
Okay, are you on for this, will you be speaking for this proposal?
We thought Beth Morrell was. Is she on?
Okay, I'm not sure, but are you with her or are you a neighbor?
Yeah, she's our
architect.
No, she's not.
Oh, perfect.
Not with us.
I'm gonna make you a panelist. Okay, I'm not sure if anyone else is.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, was about to call you.
Interesting. That I didn't realize that it was so circumscribed.
Yeah, it was
Non-panelists. Jessica?
quick, not really a lot of space for answering the questions, except for the board's question. I'm very much approve.
Jessica, can you please mute?
Yeah, I guess they just have.
Okay, here we go. Okay. And Beth, once you're a panelist, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Sorry about that. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. So this is a small existing home in Roslindale, right off of Washington Street on Murray Hill. And our proposal involves both the existing house and the existing garage, which has now been demolished. We had a separate permit for the demolition of the garage. The violations primarily stem from the fact that the house is located on a existing non-conforming lot that's 4,000 square feet and 40 feet wide instead of 5,000 square feet and 50 feet wide. We're proposing a modest family room addition that aligns with the right side of the existing house, which is already, side yard is less than required. And the required rear yard is 40 feet, and with the addition, we're at 37 feet. One of the most noticeable changes probably that we will be making is we'll be removing all of the vinyl siding and restoring the exterior to its original wood shingles, and replacing all of the trim that was removed when the vinyl siding was put on. Looking at the back here, the rear porch will be demolished, and the addition would be on the left, approximately from the left side of the house there to where that porch is. And there will be a small new deck. And there, so this shows the existing garage, which is no longer there. And you can see the side yard setback for the existing garage is only 2 feet. And part of the reason is probably the fact that the driveway is only 8 feet wide. It's extremely difficult to get back there. So for the proposed garage, which is the 12R part of the project, we are requesting to build the new garage, the 2 feet off the retaining wall that you can see there, which is part of 10 Murray Hill, the adjacent property on the left. That's the only violation for the garage. The rear yard required setback is 4 feet, and we will be meeting that requirement.
Thank you, Beth. Let me ask if there are questions from the board. Okay, hearing none, let's have public testimony.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office can defer to the judgment of this board. ONS had the applicant circulate a flyer to abutters within 300 feet. Presently, we're unaware of any concerns. With that, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cruz.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is Gabriel Cruz from Councilor Capen's office. The councilor would like to go on record that he is in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have no additional raised hands.
May I have a motion?
Motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next we have case BOA 1523507 with the address of 35 to 35B Old Morton Street. With the applicant and their representatives present, will they explain to the board, please?
Okay, and 1 second, we have a raised hand. Roland, are you here for this people?
Roland is here as an attendee. And can you please allow them to be as participants so that they can talk about the case?
Yeah, is it for this case?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect, yeah. Roland, I just sent a request to make you a panelist.
Oh, great, thank you so much.
Yep, he has to press accept, and that will unmute him. I also tried to unmute him from my side. Okay, there we go, all right. So once you become unmuted, go ahead. Cleon, same thing for you. Thank you. Roland, can you hear us?
Yes, great. I just got in. Also with me is co-counsel Attorney Tran. He also would like to be admitted if possible.
Yep, that's no problem. I'll take care of that. You said Tony Tran? Is he on under that name? In the meantime, if you want to get started, or is he, can you raise your hand if you need to be elevated to a panelist for this proposal? I don't see the name.
Who is presenting this case? Is it Mr. Pham or is it someone else?
Roland Pham is the one that's going to represent.
Okay, so Mr. Pham, are you ready to present as we identify the other person, or?
Roland, can you please go forward? Roland?
Okay, I added Mr. Tran as a panelist.
You're on mute, Mr. Pham.
Start video. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm in, right?
Yes, you are.
Hi, Sherry. This is Quốc Tran. I'm just confirming that I'm in as a panelist. Am I? Am I not?
Okay, who is presenting for this case? Can you please
Can't hear
proceed?
you.
If, Mr. Pham, are you prepared to present for this case, or who is presenting?
Mr. Pham, can you please go ahead and present the case?
Oh, okay, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you, Mr. Tran, too, but I think you cannot hear us, and we need you to proceed.
Okay. All right. First of all, thank you for allowing us to participate in this hearing today. My name is Quốc Tran. I'm one of the attorneys on record representing this property at 35 Old Morton Street. With me is my co-counsel Roland Pham, who is going to provide you with information regarding the progress of our process. Also with me is Susan Nguyen, who is the manager of the project manager for the property, and Alida Alba, who is from the architect's office, who is here today to ensure that all technical questions will be answered by her. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Mr. Pham to proceed with information. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. We're here to seek a variance for the property at 35 Old Morton. The last time that we did the presentations was with the neighborhood service, the neighborhood civic associations, of whom have not objected to the plan, the proposed plans. Now we return in before the board for the approval, the final approval to go forward. Essentially, this property that we are looking to build on is a property that used to have a 3-family structure on it. It was burned down, and now we would like to build also a 3-family. It's a townhouse style, as you can see there. And we met with a couple neighborhood civic associations to show them the proposed plan, and everyone was excited that this lot is to be improved because it looks a mess after the fire. Trash was accumulated there, and overgrowth was beginning to take over. But we are looking to build a 3-family townhouse on this lot, improving the look of the neighborhood, the value of the neighborhood. You see the design, the fascia of the building, and we point this out to the neighborhoods that in designing this building, we incorporate the characteristics of the neighborhood. So this building actually looks, it fits very well in the neighborhood. It does not stand out. It looks just like any other building that's existing on that street. And the neighbors were very excited, although a few gave us a few suggestions to consider. And we have considered those suggestions and incorporate those suggestions into our final plan, which is presented before you as much as possible. Those suggestions has been incorporated, and here we are. If you have any technical questions, I'll leave it. I'll defer to the architect, and so I'm open it for question.
Questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, please.
What did the BPDA tell you, or the Boston Transportation Department told you about the parking? Because what I can see here on the screen is that
anyone has any questions, any things to present? Now, as far as the parking spaces, as you can see there, as I said, there used to be a 3-family structure there. Now it's also a 3-family with enough parking space for everyone that's located in the back of the building.
Yes, thank you. My concern is not about how many parking spaces you have. My concern is about the project covering the entire open space with parking, with asphalt. Did you have any conversations with the BPDA about reducing the parking spaces, the parking numbers?
Does anyone have any question or concern regarding this project that I may answer?
Mr. Pham, our ZBA member, Mr. Valencia, asked you about the parking.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you for some reason.
Okay, well, either Suzanne or Mr. Tran, because we need to keep moving forward. There are questions about the number of parking spaces and the reduction of open space to accommodate that. Can the applicant address that?
Yes, I can address that. Thank you. We hope to have the parkings there so that we don't have to use the parking from the street, overcrowding the neighborhood. So that was the reason why we tried to incorporate the parking so that it doesn't take over a lot of spaces from the street, so that a lot of the neighbors can use the parking from the street instead of the occupants that are going to live in the 3-family home taking spaces from the street. So that was the reason why we tried to incorporate those parking areas. not to override the street parking.
Thank you. Can one of you also answer, previously, you said there was a burnt house, it was a three-family that experienced the fire. So how many parking spaces were there previously when it was a three-family?
If I may jump in, the number of proposed parking space here on this plan was more than what it used to be. And in fact, we point this out to the neighborhood during the neighborhood meeting. A few raised concern because during the construction period or the preparations, construction vehicle was, some of them parked temporarily on the street, and that was brought up at the hearing with the neighborhood. We point out that though they park temporarily, just come and go, but after the construction, all these parkings for the occupants would be on site, as you can see there. And the number of parking spaces, there are 7 proposed, and this number was more than what it used to be before the fire.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the board? Let me open it up to public testimony.
Good morning. Hello, Madam Chair, members of the board. Eric James for the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. The applicant for 35B Old Morton Street held their abutters meeting on December 7th. They also met with the River Street Civic Association, where they received the following recommendations. So the board provided several recommendations to the Nguyen family and their team, emphasizing the importance of integrating the new townhomes harmoniously with the existing streetscape. Specifically, the board suggested orienting the townhomes at a 90-degree angle and aligning the front doors with the Old Morton Street wall. It was also recommended that the architectural design be in keeping with the style of the surrounding homes with a maximum height of 2.5 stories, and the inclusion of dormers where appropriate. Additionally, the board expressed the community desire to preserve the maple tree and stone wall located on the lot line of 31 Old Morton Street, as well as ensuring an adequate setback on the north side of the property. Furthermore, it was emphasized that maintaining a clean construction site and facilitating communication with neighboring residents throughout the project duration are essential for fostering positive community relations, and they reiterate that their willingness to support the project comes once these considerations have been addressed. So we, at this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer our judgment to the board on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Ayam Domwiwa, City Councilor Brian Worrell. In regards to the project, as ONS representative just stated with the letters from River Street Civic Association, I know this isn't the usual case, but I know that the proponent had mentioned that they took in mind some of the considerations. I just want to confirm if River Street's letter and all the sort of concerns that they had stated was part of those considerations that they considered. Our support is sort of contingent upon that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the questions. What was asked?
Mr. Pham, can you clarify what considerations from the neighborhood groups you took into how did you modify the project to take community feedback into consideration? That is the question.
Well, essentially, the major recommendations that the building has to be turned 90 degrees so that the front doors would be to the side. We discussed that with the architect. That doesn't make sense. It could not be done if we would keep the parking space in the back. And as far as the facial of the structure, we have incorporated that into the building. The building now looks, as I said previously, very much similar to all other structure on the street.
And as for the preservation of the oak tree in the back?
Yes, we will keep that as long as it does not interfere. We try not to have that oak tree interfere with the constructions. We don't see the reason why we should need to cut it down, so that would definitely be the case.
Our office would like to offer support.
Okay, thank you. Any other raised hands? Any other questions?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me, Gary?
town architect?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please proceed.
Yes. I was at the, both River Street and the Lower Mill Civic
Can
Association.
you identify yourself and your address, please, for the record?
Yes, Gary Town Architect, 17 Temple Street, Mattapan. I was at both hearings, the abutters meeting and this both Civic Association meeting hearings. And one of the points that we made at these hearings is that the overwhelming majority of the houses on Old Morton Street, which is a very old street, early 1800s, most of the houses built by the Walter Baker Chocolate Factory. Those houses architecturally always had, the majority had the gable end facing the street. If you look at the photo as part of the application submittal to the board, you'll see that the existing house had a gable end facing the street. The narrow wall was at the street. The long wall went down into the property. There were 3 parking spaces on the south side of the driveway, and there was a 2-car garage in back. What that allowed was to have a decent backyard in the back of the building, and it allowed the north wall of the building to be far enough away from the abutting property, which is 31 Old Morton Street. There is a fieldstone wall, an old historic wall that's part of 31 Old Morton Street that needs to be preserved. The house is too close to the lot line at 31 Old Morton. It's only like 3 feet away. Also, the tree that we're talking about is on the property of 31 Old Morton Street. It's not on the property of 35 Old Morton Street. And so we want to make sure that that's preserved and recognized. But architecturally, these are old houses. They're 3 windows wide. They have front porches. They have the front door facing the street. You know, what we were asking is that they locate the house pretty much where the old house was, which was a very successful placement on the lot. And it allowed the majority of the windows to face south. It allowed the parking to be on the south side, and it allowed for a decent, very nice backyard in the back of the house. Our concern is without a backyard and all this paving, it's not going to be a very pleasant place to live. So those are our concerns, and appreciate the board considering them.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
No additional raised hands.
Any other questions from the board?
I mean, I share Mr. Valencia's concern about the number of parking spaces, the paving, the lack of open space and permeable space. I think 7 spaces for a 3-family home is excessive. So I guess I would ask the applicant to consider 1 space per unit.
Well, I guess I would suggest that if someone wants to make a motion with such a proviso, you're more than welcome to do so. Are there other questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
Well, fine, so I'm happy to make a motion for approval with the proviso that the applicant work with the BPDA in design review with attention to reduction of the off-street parking spaces from 7 to 3 and increasing the permeable space on the lot.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you. Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Benabraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Nada?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Before we continue, since we're almost at noontime, we'll ask if there are any withdrawals or deferrals from the 11:30 time frame. If there are no withdrawals from the 11:30 time frame, then we will proceed.
Madam, sorry. Is it possible, this is Eric Jackson, the architect for 146 M Street. I'd like to request a deferral for a family matter that the client wasn't able to make it today.
Sorry, which case is it?
146 M Street.
Okay, second to last one, Mr. Stenbridge?
Đáng lý là của anh phải trả lời cái vấn đề 2 cái vấn đề.
Can you please mute?
Cái nào tôi
Anyone else who's not a panelist?
Someone needs to mute themselves.
Mà bây giờ như thế này nghĩ là cái đấy mình cứ work với nó, sau này mình sau khi xây xong
Can you please mute
parking space
others in Mr. Stenbridge 146 M Street
Again.
for deferral?
Cái probably trước đó dùng đầu tiên
So that would be for case BOA 1341015 with the address of 146 M Street. Do you have a reason for the deferral?
The client had a family emergency this morning and can't make it today, so he had asked me to step on and ask for a deferral.
Thank you. The next available date would be for June 4th.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to defer?
Second.
So a second? Okay, Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better Baraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
So if there are no more requests for withdrawals or deferrals from 11:30, we will move back to the 11 o'clock hearings to case BOA 1564403. Oh. Go ahead. I apologize. The case we should be on is case BOA 1528988 with the address of 3510 Washington Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, if they explain, please.
Yes, good morning. My name is Timothy Burke. I'm the architect for the project. I have a business address of 142 Berkeley Street in Boston. And with me is the owner of the property, Bill Gow. The project is right on Washington Street. There's an existing row of 4 properties. These are all individual properties. And so we are proposing to add 2 stories above the existing restaurant space at the grade level. And it would provide 2 apartments that would be 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments. One is 1,310 square feet, and the other is 1,250 square feet. There is parking at the rear of this structure for this building. And we previously had received approval for the one 2 doors down at 3514, which is currently under construction. And you're seeing here the elevation from Washington Street. The next drawing shows the plot plan. If we could go to the next slide, please. Yep. Yep, and that shows how the 4 properties are all connected together here. The next slide shows the existing plan, which is the restaurant plan. It has a full basement and a 1st story. And then the next drawings show the proposed floor plans, which have the 2 apartments. So these are duplex units, one in the back and one in the front, with an internal stairway. There is no roof deck proposed for this project. And then the next drawing shows the elevations of the proposal. As I mentioned, the one on the right is the one that's under construction now, and the one on the left is the one that we're presenting to you today. I'm also talking to the people on the left of that to hopefully pursue a similar addition, eventually fill in the whole block there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Yeah, well, you answered one of my questions about filling in those gaps. Any other questions from the board?
Can you talk about the parking?
Yes, the parking is located at the rear of the building. There is a driveway on the left-hand side, the north side of the property, that takes you around behind the buildings, and that's where parking is for each of these properties.
How much parking are you proposing?
There are 2 spots in the back that are dedicated to this property. Each property has 2 spots.
Okay.
Thank you. Other questions from the board? Hearing none, can I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office is deferred to the judgment of this board. Due to personnel changes, I don't have a lot of information regarding the community process for this proposal. However, we do know that the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Council recommended supporting this proposal. I'm not aware of any specific concerns at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a raised hand here? The mayor?
You, Chair, members of the board. This is Omer Heck at 3514 Washington Street, just one door down from this project. And I'd like to go on record in support of this project. I think we have great communication on behalf between all the neighbors, and I think this is a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
A motion to approve of BBDA design review.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Barraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next,
That was it?
next we have case BOA 1552647 with the address of 608 Sharman Avenue. If the applicant and or the representative is present, will they explain the case, please?
Yes, I am. My name is Hezekiah Pratt. I am the architect of the project representing the owner, Hamid Al-Khoury. What we propose is changing the existing occupancy from three families and apartments and store to three apartments and a barbershop. The work proposed is minor. We are proposing only interior work, which is a wall and a door. And most importantly, 5 barber chairs and a hair wash sink. The owner bought this property back in 2021. At the time, and still is, it's occupied by 3 three-bedroom units on the upper floors. And of course, the lower level, street level, which is commercial use, is currently vacant. It has remained vacant until the owner found a lease E that he thought was either appropriate for the location or the use that was appropriate for the location, also the size, in which he has found a lease which is, of course, a barbershop. This barbershop is going to be operated by a husband and wife combination. Again, no internal, only interior changes, improvements are proposed. And most importantly, also, no exterior changes are proposed for the exterior of the building. Just minor, there's only one violation. That is, the barbershop is conditional use in a multifamily residential district.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office will defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information in the community process. ONS hosted a butters meeting February 5th. Some immediate abutters expressed some concerns that this business might add to existing issues in the community with drug dealing and gun violence. The applicants explained that they would be potentially doing just appointment only for haircuts, and that that type of behavior wouldn't be tolerated, and that they wouldn't have control over what happened outside in the broader community, and didn't think that they'd be much of an impact on this. I don't believe we have any letters of support or opposition. With that, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands? With that, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second? Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Barraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Great, thank you very much.
Next, we have case BOA 7916, with the address of 906 East 4th Street. If the applicant and or the representative is present, will they explain to the board, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Francis Adams. I'm an attorney in Boston. Business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Also on the presentation is Ben Lessel. Ben is the project architect and is also the owner of the property that is proposal in front of the board today. Very briefly, members of the board, it's an existing 3-unit condominium. It's a 2-level condominium at the front and 1 level in the rear. Mr. LaSalle and his family are proposing a rear addition to the back of the property to make the property line and the height consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. There were 5 violations that we're seeking relief for. Roof structure on the lower roof, reconfiguration of the main roof profile, insufficient rear yard, excessive FAR, and insufficient side yard setback. I'd like to just note that almost all of the violations are existing non-conforming violations. There are no new violations except a de minimis increase in the FAR to the rear of the property. The building footprint itself is not changing, as you can see from the plans, and Ben will go over. Thus, all the violations, again, are for pre-existing non-conforming use, except for the FAR violation. At this point, I'll turn it over to Ben, and Ben can review the plans for the board, and then we'll take testimony or questions.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. As Fran mentioned, this is a project for my family and I in hopes that we can stay within the South Boston community and not have to move out of the city. So it's a modest addition off to the back that is going to be placed above an existing 1-story condo that is on P Street, and it'll be 2 stories above that that'll actually fill in an irregular shape of our existing building that is on the existing block. So the goal is really just to fill in the area for added square footage for our unit and provide an extra bedroom for future children.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the board. Lydia Pulaski with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. And a butters meeting was hosted on December 18th, 2023, during which time some abutters were concerned over light blockage and the inclusion of a roof deck in the proposal relating to the potential noise that could occur. Some in attendance were pleased with the architecture set in context with the neighborhood and the efforts to align with the surrounding properties. Additionally, our office received 1 letter of support from an abutter and a letter of support from the City Point Neighborhood Association. At this time, our office is unaware of any additional concerns with this application. We would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is Laura Toledano from Councilor Flynn's office. At this moment, Councilor Flynn would like to go on record in opposition due to the presence of the roof deck in the project. Councilor Flynn has a long-standing policy opposing roof decks in residential areas of South Boston due to the negative impacts that have resulted for many years in South Boston and were subsequently exacerbated in recent years in the form of parties at all hours of the night and trash removal issues. With South Boston having become as much of a destination for young people on the weekend as downtown Boston, these issues emanating from roof decks have negatively impacted the quality of life for neighbors, our seniors, and persons with disabilities and young families. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no additional raised hand.
May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Braza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, board members.
What was that?
Thank you very much. Next, we have case BOA 1572696 with the address of 804 East 7th Street. This is an Article 80 case. Would the applicant and/or their representative please explain to the board?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Stembridge. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I represent Cabot Ronan LLC and its principals, Stuart Mullally and Ted Ahern. This is, as Mr. Stembridge noted, an Article 80 small project, which was originally approved by the BPDA in 2022 and was approved by this board in June of that year. Cabot Ronan LLC is purchasing the approved project from the original applicant. In conjunction with that purchase, I filed a notice of project change on behalf of my clients with the BPDA last November, which has been approved. Besides the transfer of ownership, the NPC proposes a reduction in the number of approved dwelling units from 21 to 16, along with a reduction in the number of off-street parking spaces, also from 21 to 16, a reduction in the project's FAR from 1.68 to 1.43, and an increase in the number of interior bicycle parking spaces from 21 to 32, with an additional 10 outdoor visitor bicycle spaces. All of this occurs within the existing building footprint, with a very small addition on the garage side to allow for better configuration of the garage area and better maneuverability for vehicles. It also remains the case that there is no change to the building height from existing conditions. Additional changes and improvements include the creation of direct bike access connecting both East 6th Street and East 7th Street, and that bike route would be serviced from both sides of the building as well, along with exterior accessible ramp access for pedestrians connecting East 6th Street and East 7th Street. There's been a redesign of the building's facade to be more consistent with the neighborhood's architectural vernacular, as well as additional street trees on both the East 6th and East 7th Street sides of the building, and the introduction of additional front landscaping on the East 6th Street side of the building where the building's main garage is located. There will be 11 two-bedroom units ranging from 910 to 1,088 square feet, and 5 three-bedroom units ranging from 1,105 to 1,176 square feet. With respect to the zoning relief, variances were previously granted in 2022 for 4 of the 5 violations cited on the present zoning refusal letter. It is requested that the board re-grant those variances for the same reasons as they were originally granted, as well as G-Part approval under Article 29. In support of the G-Part permit being sought, it is noted that the site is an appropriate one for the proposed use as it is zoned multifamily residential. Appropriate facilities will be maintained for the use, adequate vehicular access will be provided, and as the vehicular activity will occur on the East 6th Street side of the site, which is not facing Day Boulevard, the Greenbelt roadway in question, there will be no adverse effects on the Greenbelt roadway. Significant landscaping treatment will ensure that the natural aesthetic quality of the Greenbelt roadway will be maintained. And finally, and as previously mentioned, the design of the building is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. With that, Madam Chair, I'll pause and take any questions that members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Moranci. Any questions from the board?
Can you speak to the IDP units?
Yes, Ms. Vignato. The number of units were reduced from 21 to 16. There was a commensurate reduction in the number of IDP units from 3 to 2, one of which is a 2-bedroom unit and one of which is a 3-bedroom unit.
And I wanted to ask if you can tell us the main reasons why you decided to reduce the project from 21 to 16, is that? Everybody's trying to build more housing, so I'm very curious to hear why you are reducing the number of units.
The previous project, as I said, I represented the owners at that time. They quickly realized that it was maybe not going to be a very buildable project in terms of the project finances. Mr. Mullally and Mr. Ahern looked at it and thought that the project would work better with fewer but larger units. And they made the decision to do that based essentially upon the economics of trying to reuse and adapt this existing building, which became more expensive, I think, than was originally envisioned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? May I have public testimony?
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the board. Lydia Pulaski with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. On January 3rd, the BPDA held a virtual public meeting and conducted community process for this proposal. On January 17th, the BPDA board approved the proposal with community support. Community concerns voiced prior in regards to this proposal include volume of units added to an already dense residential corridor, additional scarcity of on-street parking, and an increase in traffic along residential streets surrounding the development, size and scale of the project, concerns over architectural context and lack of green space. Community support for the proposal included a need for more residential units in South Boston, positive transformation of an older building, support for the architectural style and overall neighborhood beautification this proposal would bring. We are unaware of anything additional at this time. With that, we would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So Luann O'Connor, I'm president of the City Point Neighborhood Association. We listened to the presentation from Stuart Mullally as well as George Moranci, and this was a prior nursing home. It's a great building. We are in support of this. He answered all of our questions. The architectural style fits in with Day Boulevard, and we are very happy that the units were reduced from 21 to 16. We did not support RISE when they were the owners and developers of this project. Stuart came in, Stuart Mullally, gave us the changes, and those changes are supported, and as well as the beautification of the neighborhood and keeping within our housing stock style. Now, do we want to see large projects like this in City Point all the time? No, we don't, but this is a great reuse of this particular building, and he is in fact staying within the footprint. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is Laura Toledano for Councilor Flynn's office. Councilor Flynn would like to go on record in support due to a good community process and the proponent incorporating the feedback of neighbors regarding the number and composition of the units, the design, parking, and other quality of life issues. The previous iteration of the project was 21 units and 21 parking spaces. The latest version is now 16 units and 16 parking spaces, which is more in line with the neighborhood feedback. Councilor Flynn respectfully requests that the proponent continue to work closely with neighbors and the civic group on any quality of life issues that arise during the construction phase. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no reason.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion? May I have a motion?
A motion to approve with BPDA design reviews.
A second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Benabraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have two companion cases. First is case BOA 155-6767 with the address of 156 West Newton Street. Along with that, we have case BOA 155-6768, also with the address of 156 West Newton Street. If the applicant and or their representative present, they explain the case to the board, please.
The home companies, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Joe Holland. I'm a partner at the Holland Companies. We are working for the Irma family, Greg and Itzko Irma. We are asking for relief today on GCOD. We've had approval from Boston Water and Sewer to do a GCOD system at the home. The other item that we're looking for relief on is the excessive floor area ratio. We are off by 64 square feet on the garden level. We've gone through an extensive neighborhood process and the Rutland Square Association. I believe that we have the full support of both, but I'll let them speak for themselves. The biggest concern on this project was the magnolia tree out back, and the current owners of this building share the concerns of the neighbors, and I think they were impressed at the level of effort they've gone through so far to design around that tree and to make sure that that tree is protected. And I'm going to defer to Justin White in my office, who's the architect that designed it.
So, as Joe stated, it's a full gut renovation of the full single family. We are proposing a one-story rear addition that is 6 feet off of garden level. We've done this several times in the south end. It works well to gain the extra square footage to accommodate a single car inside. It also works well because of the deck on the street level, which can then sit right on top of it. There is a code that allows us to basically reapportion square footage. We are removing the rear oriel and then adding 130 square feet for that one-story addition. There's also a 50 square footage that's allowed in the code additionally. So as Joe had stated, we're basically asking for right around 60 additional square feet for the building to make this work. Next slide. One other item that we are asking for is a deck above that due to the floor plan's design being that the kitchen is on apartment level.
Questions from the board?
And then
Yes, just kind of reviewing the BPDA comments regarding the location of the property, that it's in the sea flood and FEMA flood hazardous area.
Are you referring to the GCOD?
No, so maybe Jeff Hampton can speak on this, but there was comments about potential, basically the idea that that the BPDA is not really moving projects forward in regards to basement livable space when a property is under sea flood and FEMA flood area.
We're under, this is the first time we're unaware of that new standard. We renovate the garden levels of every single full garden model that we do on the south end. So
Yeah.
this would be.
And so this is why I would like for Jeff to comment on it, because some of it is kind of far away from sea level, but this is more inwards in the city, so I just want to get his assessment on it.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Hampton, BPDA. My apologies, Ms. Betta-Barraza, on the FEMA notation. That should have been taken out.
Okay.
Because it's that far in, it's not Lower Roxbury or any of those areas that are prone to it. However, it is still in the CFROD, and even though it is, the CFROD regulations aren't applicable to a project this small, as you had noted earlier, we are taking a policy stand against having livable space in areas that are prone to flooding and are in the CFROD, even though those regulations don't apply. It's, one right here on West Newton, and as I'm sure you're aware, I'm tipping my hand already, the next case on North Margin is also the same reasoning for our rejections. So.
Okay. That's great, thank you. I figure that, but I just wanted clarification because there's so many garden levels in the south end. So thank you for that explanation. No further question.
Question for the applicant. It's going from 3 family to 1 family. Is it currently occupied by 3 family?
It is not currently occupied.
The entire building?
The entire building is not occupied.
Thank you.
May I have public testimony?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judge from this board. I understand that the ONS held a butters meeting was a positive one, and that the applicant reached out to the Pilot Block Neighborhood Association, which I don't believe had any concerns or any opposition to this proposal. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simonelli?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Christian Simonelli, Boston Groundwater Trust, and we have both cheek.
Thank you.
We have no raised hands. Thank you.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion for approval for GCOD and also approval with a proviso that the project undergoes South End Landmark Commission review.
Is there a second?
Second.
Stumbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Next, we have case VOA 1564403 with the address of 64 North Margin Street. With the applicant and or their representatives present, will they explain to the board, please?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Nick Zazzulo, McDermott, Quilty, Miller, and Hanley here in Boston, 28 State Street. With me today is Tom McGlosky. You can see on our opening screen. Tom is the property owner. He acquired the building in September of 2022. Made a lot of overall building and life safety improvements to date. And this specific appeal is kind of the final step in that process. Tom is the project proponent, he's the builder, and he's actually the architect as well. And you can see the building here in tan in the center of the picture on the left. Next slide, please, Madam Ambassador. Just to let everybody know the parameters of the project. The existing building, it's a 9-unit residential building with a management office on the ground level. It's a 5-story building. It has an existing basement garden level area that's currently used for storage and building HVAC, mechanical, etc. It's a full height basement. There's a rear garden and a light well that goes down through the entire section of the building, which you'll see in a second. And the proposal on the bottom is to expand one of the units, the first floor unit, livable space, into that existing garden level. Again, there will remain that full height walkout to the rear garden, and there is a light well that provides light and air down into that lower level unit, that lower level space, excuse me. And this would require no expansion outside of the existing building envelope. That downstairs area would provide about 900, a little less than 1,000 square feet of additional living area. And you'll see in a minute the plan is for this unit 1R for the appellant to move into this space actually with his growing family from the south end, which is outgrown, into the north end. So he actually will live in this unit and on site where he'll manage the building himself site. Next slide, please, Madam Ambassador. This is just to show the adequate light, air, and that it's actually a walkout. It's a basement in the manner that from the front it's below grade, but as you walk out to the rear, it's actually a full walkout. You can see on the left-hand side, both photos show the existing space as it is now. That's actually me as a model for scale in the bottom left. I'm about 6'1", 6'2" on a good day, and you can see that there's a lot of height there even now in that area. And on the right-hand side are 2 photos of that rear area that's a walkout, which would be adjacent to this lower level space as well. Next slide, please. This is just the existing, what's there now. Left side is the existing unit. You can see the unit is only about 570 square feet, so it's a rather small unit in the rear. And then that management office towards the front of the building. The lower half of the lower part of the slide is Margin Street. The top part is the rear of the building. And you can see on the right-hand side, that's the space at issue, the unfinished space and you can see to the top that walkout to the garden area, and then that light well, which provides light and air down there now. Next slide would just be proposed to show you what the plan is. Again, you can see that management office remains. A little bit of a reconfiguration of that first floor level, and then the lower level is planned to be, again, attached to the main level, that Unit 1R that's there now, about 1,000 square feet. The downstairs rear would be a kitchen, dining room, living area with new windows and access to that rear garden, so the ability to walk in and out and use that private open space. And then towards the front, you can see a bedroom being added that does have light and air from that light well, and a full bath as well, and then a half bath down there as well. Again, this would be connected to that first floor by an internal stair. Next slide, please. This is just the building section, just to evidence quickly that you could see that although the first half of the towards Margin Street is technically basement, as you go further back due to the grade change and just due to the building, it actually walks right out to that patio and garden. And apropos to the sea fraud and the comments from the BPDA, which I'm happy to address, you can see in that patio garden level, there is already a recharge system in there. We actually were approved for GCOD back in 2023 due to the overall renovation and rehabilitation of the building for all the other floors. We actually went through GCOD and got approval for all the groundwater conservation, the pipes, the recharge, and all of that with BWSC and Christian at the Boston Groundwater Trust. Next slide is just our zoning refusal letter, which is just showing all we need is floor area ratio, because we're recapturing that existing space in the basement. We do not. And we're not triggered for sea fraud. We don't trigger that under their applicability guidelines for sea fraud. So we were just cited for FAR. And then the final slide, which I'm sure the mayor's office will speak to, Madam Ambassador, if you could scroll down, is just our outreach. We did meet with the applicable neighbor groups. We got support in non-opposition. I'm happy to stop here and take questions. I'm happy to answer, go right into the sea fraud if you'd like as well. I know Ms. Better Barraza asked previously, so I'll pause here and wait my turn.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No questions, because Attorney Zazula said that the project did not trigger any sea fraud restrictions. It is under overlay district, but it didn't trigger it.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office deferred to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. An abutters meeting was held on February 15th. By and large, it was a very positive meeting. Some abutters have raised some concerns about construction. I believe it might be related to noise. The applicant went on to meet with NURA, which they received a letter of non-objection, and on to NUNIC, which they received a letter of support. We also have 28 letters of support, I'm told. Those have been shared with the board. All that information will defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Sebastian Parr from Councilor Toledo's office. The council would like to vote in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
No raised hands.
With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to put forward a motion. I think this project's commendable to preserve the commercial space a little bit of and on the first floor. With that, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Better Barraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Panado?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have case BOA 1563079 with the address of 135 Falcon Street. If the applicant and or their representative present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Stenbridge, and good afternoon again, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins
with a business address of 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner. With me is Doug Stefanoff, Stefanoff Architects. We can jump down to slide 2. Madam Chair, this is a existing 2-family dwelling located in the Eagle Hill section of East Boston. It's a corner lot condition on the corner of Putnam and Falcon Street. Our proposal would involve changing the occupancy from a 2-family dwelling to a 3-family dwelling, which includes a 1-story vertical addition. If we can jump down to the next slide, please. One more. Perfect. Just real quickly, by way of summary, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we have the new zoning article for East Boston. This will be located in the EBR3 district. As you can see, the comparison changes. A number of these zoning regulations that were applicable in the prior version of Article 53 would trigger relief for a number of items. As you can see, we pretty much comply, if not fully, with all of the requirements for EBR3. I would point out that the footprint of our building does not change. It currently occupies 58% of the lot area. Because this is a corner lot condition, EBR3 allows for up to 75% coverage, so we actually have a bit of room if we wanted to expand the building. Permeable area for a corner lot condition is 15%. We have that 288 square feet towards the rear of the building, which should not be an issue. With respect to the remaining items, use would be permitted as a 3-family, and then all of the other sort of dimensional controls that existed previously in Article 53 are either eliminated or were in compliance as a pre-existing non-conforming structure. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview of the surrounding context. The site is a bit sloped as you go up Putnam Street. You can go down to slide 8. That probably shows a good example of what we're looking at. Slide 8, please. Perfect. So you can see here the existing condition of the building. You know, as I said, Putnam Street does slope up towards Eagle Hill. We do have an exposed condition for the existing foundation, which doesn't get picked up on the other side of the street because the slope goes the other way. Our proposal would not seek to add any livable space at that lower level. There are no flood or sea flood issues at this location. We would continue to use that for utility and for storage. Next slide, please. It's a different view. Next slide. So our comparison is here showing the proposed addition. We do propose a roof deck as well that is accessed by a hatch. While this does not necessarily seem like it aligns with existing heights along that section of Falcon Street, I would point out that both current zoning, or I should say the prior zoning and now current zoning, both allowed this level of height. The only difference being is we were allowed to have 2.5 stories, 35 feet under prior zoning. This is allowing a full 3rd story with 35 feet height limit under new zoning. So this is compliant, although not necessarily representative of some of the buildings immediately to its right. I would guess that the amendments to Article 53 contemplated this type of change to buildings, including vertical additions to allow additional housing units. And I believe that is one of the reasons why the EPDA has recommended approval for this project, because of its alignment with new zoning. Next slide, please. Just our left side view, you can see we are proposing 2 rear balconies off of the back of the building. There are no stairwells accessing them. We do obviously are required to upgrade the life safety of the building based upon the change of occupancy. You can see the proposed roof deck as well. Next slide. Just our right side, which is pretty much set of the lot line and the rear view of our building. I will point out that the parking that was proposed originally for this site was to have 3 parking spaces. We did hear through the community process to reduce the number of parking spaces down to 2. As I mentioned in prior presentations, new zoning does not require any parking for up to 3 units in the East Boston neighborhood. And therefore, even though we are proposing 2 parking spaces, we would be in compliance with the parking regulations. Also, by reducing it down to 2 parking spaces, we're able to better address the permeability of the site and to ensure that we're meeting that 15%, even though we're not necessarily required to. Next slide, please. We can jump down to the floor plans. I believe is slide 17. Here we go. So as you can see on the left side, that's that basement level that is exposed. We are proposing to maintain that, as I said, for storage and utilities. The first level, second level, and third level are all shown, and then the roof deck that's exclusive to Unit 3 only. And with that, I think I can stop and address any questions or comments on the board.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Olivia Gomez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting for this project on January 4th, 2024. 3 abutters were present on the call. Abutters shared concerns about the parking as they didn't think it would be able to fit all the cars the plan originally proposed. The proponent did meet with the Eagle Hill Civic Association and the group voted to oppose the project. The vote was 7 in support and 12 in opposition. At this time, our office would like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Sebastian Parr from Councilor Coletta's office. Based on its compliance with East Boston, Plan East Boston, the council would like to go and support this project. Thank you.
Okay. Any of the elected official offices? No? Okay, I'll go to Haley and then caller 862.
Hi, good afternoon, board members. My name is Haley Richards, resident of 137 Falcon Street. I am in opposition of this build as it currently sits due to the overshadowing caused by the proposed building's height. It will cause a severe impact to the living conditions at 137 Falcon Street by reducing sunlight exposure, which is vital for both physical and mental health. The other residents of 137 Falcon, who I know are on this call as well, are in the same camp. That said, overall compliance with the zoning laws is not merely just a bureaucratic formality, but a crucial mechanism to ensure that all developments contribute positively to the fabric of the community that they join. And I strongly feel that this building revision is not in service of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and the board, members of the board. My name is Brandon Gierschik. I reside at 137 Falcon Street, directly across from this property as well. Similar to Haley, here today to express my strong opposition to the proposed redevelopment plan. As Haley had noted, this will significantly impact the natural light that enters our home, which obviously has health and psychological impacts, but was also a contributing factor in our decision to purchase our home here and make the investment that we have. Additionally, I'm concerned about the setting of precedent, and improving such a zoning exception for future development projects in our area. So I would urge the board carefully to consider these adverse effects. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
A caller?
Hi, good afternoon. Thomas Park. I'm also in opposition of the project. Represent the residents of 137 Boston Street here. This is a new build for us, so since we didn't have time to actually attend this abutters meeting. My unit in particular is on the top floor, and because of this, I have vaulted ceilings, and the only windows in my unit are westward facing. This project is to my left, so adding the additional stories and an additional roof deck would block my windows. So I wanted to just express my opposition. Just so the point out as well, on the front of the building, the basement level is fully exposed to the sort of steep grade of Eagle Hill. This would visually be a 4-story building with a roof deck and tile. Just wanted to point that out on the corner. That also just in addition to the issues with the additional story blocking light on our property, I just also don't think that this good architecture is fit into the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond? I'm sorry.
Are there any other raised hands?
No, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir, Ms. Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple of quick comments. So I hear the concerns that were being raised regarding the light and shadow and impact that this would have. I would reiterate to the board members, the height of this building is compliant with the new zoning for Plan East Boston. So while we were cited for height under the prior version of Article 53, this is compliant. In addition, the proposed roof deck is also compliant with the Plan East Boston recommendations for roof decks. With respect to setting a precedent, I'm afraid that we're not the ones that will be setting the precedent here, as the new zoning article for Article 53 has already established that. So three-family or three-story building in this neighborhood is the norm at this point. So there is not any concern over precedent being set because this would be the as-of-right height for the area. Lastly, I will point out that with respect to the, I believe there was also a comment about, the comment about the height of the building with the exposed foundation. I'm sure as this board is aware, the definition of first story under Article 2 is pretty clear. It is that portion of the building which is 65% or more above grade. So the first story of this building is actually the first main story, and that's because of the fact that it is a corner lot and is bounded by sidewalks on both the left side of the building and the front. And therefore, although it may present as a four-story building, technically under the zoning definition, it is a three-story building, and the height is measured from the average grade, which again would be a compliant condition under both prior zoning as well as current zoning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
A motion to approve with BPDA design review.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Ms. Barbraza?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Let's take a 15-minute break. Thank you.
Recording stop.